Hello and welcome everybody to week 3 of the Pylon Show. I'm one of the two esteemed hosts that's pulling off our best intro yet. Jeff In Control Robinson, joined as always by wearing an amazingly handsome, not nerd, I don't want to get you guys too excited, but a handsome Ultra shirt, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good, and I do have a slight announcement to make. I ordered a new microphone that our producer Cobra told me to order. It's not here yet, but it'll be here before next week. Yeah, so I'm going to sound as good as you next week. Isn't that exciting?
Listen, let's not aim too high for the stars there, but guys, get excited. If I don't have 3 threads at the top of Reddit by tomorrow about Dan's new mic, then this has been a failed show. You just heard the incredibly handsome and awesome chuckle of Mr. Rotterdam. Thank you for coming on. These guys stayed up at 2:30 a.m., by the way. Kevin, thank you.
And I was free tonight, guys. Like, that's doesn't happen often.
Yeah, you didn't have anything pre-planned at 2:30 a.m. That's sick.
No, I checked, I double-checked, I called my assistant, and I was like, "No, you're all clear." So I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Well, I would love to hang out with my friends on Discord. It sounds like an amazing time."
I'm so glad our publicists could get together and make that happen. And you just teed this up beautifully because you're a professional caster, and I expect this from you. But our fourth guest here on the show is Mr. Funka, and I didn't expect him to get dressed up for this. I didn't expect him to go down to the studio.
What's up, guys?
You're trying a bit too hard there, Funko. What's going on?
Well, I actually wish I had an assistant because I did have some stuff to do at 2:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. So yeah, I'm actually casting Overwatch League right now, and I'm praying for the Shanghai Dragons to actually go as far as possible so I can keep on talking with you guys.
That doesn't happen very often, does it?
That doesn't happen. It's really bad.
I like that. Like Dan's waking up. Kevin's like, I had a free night. I'm just sitting here, and Funka's like, I got to work in about 25 minutes. So, so yeah, it's a little bit of a different thing. I just want to put this out there first. It is late, so Kevin's going to be using his indoor voice. So if any of you are wondering why you're not hearing the full Roddy laugh, it's not because my jokes aren't good. It's because he can't. And Funka may have to go because he's at O Gaming Studios and he does a professional job and he's trying to make a living. So that being said, the roadmap for today is going to be a little bit different. Normally we'd go into what's happening for StarCraft, and we still will. But I want to lead off with our first topic so that we can get Funka on here for the meat and potatoes of this. And the first topic is in our 3rd week of the show. Apparently this is the Pylon Show, a.k.a. Nation Wars discussion. But we're going to talk Nation Wars again. It did just conclude. And I think there have, not to color it entirely this way, but there's been some criticisms about Nation Wars or some commentary about it. And I don't think it's fair not to have, a guy like Funka who works behind the scenes and on the scene to make this thing happen. And then, of course, Kevin has been there 3 or 4 years in a row now as one of the primary commentators. We're happy to have him on. And I'm just going to lead off the discussion with Nation Wars concluded. People loved it. The stage was beautiful. Funka, how was it for you to be on both the person helping put it on, but as a commentator? Are you happy with it? What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess just in general, I'm really happy with this season. I think we reached a level in terms of production that we didn't reach before, thanks to Blizzard, thanks to all of our sponsors and stuff like that. But we also, put in a lot of work, and I think it looked cool. It was really great to be in a venue again. I think we had about 1,200 people there, and obviously, as the French crowd does it all the time, they were pretty freaking hyped, and they yelled all day from 10 a.m. to 8:30. So obviously, as a commentator, it was really, really good to be there and be a part of this, but also working for, last 9 months on this project and see it come to fruition on stage was, a really, really, really sick feeling for me.
You worked on this for 9 months leading up to the project?
Yeah, I guess that's about right. So basically, when we finished Nation Wars 4, we worked with Blizzard on this one, and we already, just after it finished, we were already talking about Nation Wars 5, right? And we put together another project, another proposition for them, and, we started reviewing it with Blizzard, and it took a long time, and we worked on a lot of what we wanted to do with the show. Started talking with PAX to get it in the venue. So yeah, I'd say give or take 9 months, basically.
Awesome. I think people were really, the community loved it. It was really good. The stage was beautiful. It was really cool stage design. I had a little bit of my own personal idiot moment when the player stepped through the frame and it was like not glass or something like that. I was like, I'm just watching it by myself, but I had that moment where it's like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, fucking, obviously, it's not food.
Yeah.
I really liked in particular the touch of having the players, the teams behind actually, and seeing that interaction. It's funny because little things like that I never think I would care about, but then in seeing it, I'm like, that's actually fucking sick. That was really cool. Dan, any questions? Go ahead, Funko. Go ahead.
I lagged for a bit, I think. I didn't get what you said at the end.
I was just a terrible host. You go ahead.
I think it's Jeff lagging, no?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm lagging?
I can't hear Jeff.
Yeah, you're a robot.
You're turning a little bit robot-y on us. While Jeff tries to fix that, I have to say a couple things here. First off, Funka, you pull off a bow tie better than anyone else in the industry.
Whoa. Bow tie. Even better than Red Eye, really?
Red Eye. I mean, I used to think he looks good in a bow tie till I saw you in a bow tie. So that did it for me. And I love your commentary, too. The French don't deserve you, man. We should have you on the English side all the time.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean,
I want to jump around a little bit because the finals was super sick. I mean, it was nice and close. It was really. I was hoping. I wanted Roddy to have that trophy so badly.
Me
of
too.
course,
It would have been right here, right?
Oh, you should make a second place trophy next year so Roddy can have one. And I mean, it was awesome. But one thing that we've been talking a lot about on the actual show here is kind of like the format of having the votes plus the revival with all kill, right? So sometimes you see things like Innovation beat Netherlands. Okay, like Sue and MMA had nothing to do with that victory. And of course, we saw things like Cyril, and there was all kills. I mean, there's good and bad to both. I just wonder what you guys think about the actual format that you have here.
You want to go first, Funko? Or?
I'm just testing. Can you guys hear me now, or am I still a robot?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll start because I really don't know when I'm gonna have to run downstairs and start yelling about another game. So, obviously, first of all, I'm really happy that you guys discussed that, and like it means that the tournament means something to the community, and that everybody is just looking for ways to improve it. And I think it's a really good thing. So thank you for that. And obviously, we talked every season about how we should change, or should we change? Like, what's the best solution for us to pull off another great season? And I guess the two parts of this are, first of all, as you said, the process of getting the players, getting the teams formed, and then the actual formats. So if I had to summarize, I'd say probably the way we select the players has to change. I think it's the most important issue, and we are talking about it. There's a lot of I guess pros and pros. There's a lot of pros in having the system that we have here, but there's also a lot of pros and a lot of cons on this system, right? Like sometimes you will get a team that has more of a streamer kind of guy in the team, and then suddenly it's not as close as it should be, like for Team United States this year. So we like it that people get to have a say in who's representing him. I think it's good because it connects the community with the tournament, because they want to see this player, and now he's in the tournament, right? Like if he wants to register in the tournament, he will get voted in, and if people want to see him, they're probably going to tune into the tournament. That's the main idea. But I do agree with the fact that it's not ideal, and sometimes it can it can lead to a team not being as good as it would be. And obviously, I'm an esports fan before I'm a show kind of guy. Like I would like to have all the greatest teams and all the greatest players. It's not my sole decision. I have to talk with people about that, and we did talk about it quite a bit. So we're still figuring out what would be the best way of gathering the players and selecting the team. But it is kind of tough because there is lots of possibilities. You guys mentioned a couple of them. I had countless discussions with Brody that was really interested in figuring out a better way or a different solution. So we did talk about that, did think about a lot of different solutions, but we still haven't found it yet. I'd say that if we get to do Nation War 6, it would be slightly different, but I can't really say for sure what kind of look it will have. It's just not decided yet, and since we finished the tournament like 2 days ago, we still haven't done like any debrief from the tournament. So it's happening, and this is part of the discussion, right? Like the format and everything. For the
there's no perfect answers. I think it should be put out there that there is no like, this is how you fix it. This is the best format. Because I think I agree with what you're saying, and I have to find some scathing remark, otherwise Tyler's gonna punish both Dan and I, because apparently we're big pussies. But like, I definitely think the idea behind I vote this person in, now I watch, therefore the most people voting and getting behind it are gonna do it. I think what's kind of funny about that though, and what was brought up in the previous episodes, is that voting in of itself, as an American, I feel very informed on telling you that voting just sucks in general, because there's a lot of people that are like, they're just not going to do it. And then there's other people who are like, oh my God, I will vote every day for 2 weeks, and that tends to favor the streamer type people, the people that can remind people and get them out there and do it, which didn't delegitimize the system, by the way. We still had a great finals, but I think it kind of shows what we're talking about a little bit, where like, Team Netherlands makes it all the way down to the finals because they have 3 really good players, not necessarily the most popular one, Roddy. Whereas for like America, we had one of our absolute best players, and then one who's very good, but I don't think anyone's saying M. Canning is number 2 or probably 3 in the United States. And then there's the Avilo, who is probably not in the 200 or 300 of the top of the United States. And that makes for a very... Do people watch that team, by the way? Yes, they do. So it becomes kind of a hard problem, right? Because there is no good answer. They watched it, but they didn't do very well.
Yeah, I agree. It is a problem. I would have loved to see Team America go further, and they would have been able to do it with a different lineup probably. I mean, it would have helped, right? Because both M. Canning and Avilo were not able to take a game. So obviously Neeb was a little bit alone in this one. So
I didn't know that. M. Canning didn't take a single game.
You're a robot again, Jeff.
Robot again.
I think Jeff is the one that needs a new mic now.
Am I still robot?
Go ahead, Fungus.
But I'd say, as you said, I mean, within this format, within this way of voting the players in, we still have, I'd say, in general, quite healthy teams make it to the top 4. And as you said, like Team Netherlands goes to the finals. They voted interesting players, and I'd say, like for instance, Netherlands.
They voted the best. The Netherlands have the best lineup.
They voted the best players, but they're also quite interesting as persons, and they gave us so much. They gave us so much in the tournament, and I thank them like numerously because of how good they were to the tournament, because they were, they were there, man. Like they in every single interview they were giving us a lot. They cheered the crowd on. They did a lot of stuff that made the tournament something memorable. And I guess that's also a sign that players should think about that as well, like be more than a player. And I know, of course, it takes a lot of time to be a great player, but also work a little bit on your image in general and how cool you are towards your audience. But actually gives you players like Harstem or Uthermal or anybody from the Dutch lineup that are both interesting to watch, but also good at the game. And in the end, they get voted in. So that's for the voting system. The formats, if I can transition to that, or maybe you want to. Yeah. How do you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
Robot Jeff doesn't have anything to say.
Can you hear me now?
I feel really pressured by the time, and I want to
get
this message across.
You say your piece.
So the way I feel about the format is a little bit tougher, because I really, really did think a lot about that. And you guys mentioned the Pro League format, for instance. And I'm the biggest freaking Pro League fan. Like, it's the best tournament for me. I loved it. We casted it in French. We bought the rights from, we did that thing, and I followed everything. I'm really, really, really huge fan of that. And I do agree that it is an amazing format for a Korean team league based in Seoul, South Korea. It works. But if you do it with 32 teams, and we do want to have the biggest number of teams in Nation Wars. That's part of the entire tournament, having a lot of teams, making it something really global. So with the rules that we have, which is you have to be GM, NA, Europe, or Korea, so you have to be 200 of a region, if I can say it like this. So to make sure that the level is quite high enough, well, there's a lot of countries that will not have 4 players. And if you want to do a Pro League format, you have to have those 4 players, right? Or else you've got like a weird format where you maybe add on 2v2 or Archon, but we don't do anything about that. Archon is just dead. 2v2 is not really well balanced. So also, what's really good about Pro League is that they have a lot of time to prepare for it. But suddenly we do a group stage in the round of 16 where you have a couple of matches that could be played in one day. So basically, you can't really prepare anything for your opponent. So suddenly, the aspect of preparing for your game is a little bit out of the way. And also, well, I feel like in this format, even a team that has like one player that is really good obviously can carry, which is what happened with Finland. It was the only team that had that, right? Like the 3 other teams were quite deep, Mexico, South Korea, Netherlands, all deep lineups, and they made it to the finals. It's not Finland. Finland got crushed, But if you look at the sheer quality of the game, there's a lot of good stuff that goes with all kill. And I know it is weird, and I would love to have best of ones with setup players and stuff like that, but we do get lots of good games and lots of good storylines because of that. Like Rainer, for instance, or Finland being able to, or Seoul being able to go to the round of 4, or even Special being able to all kill Korea. All of those games were quite nice, and I would like totally go as far as saying that, as well as it is strategically interesting that you throw your worst player at the best player from the other team, you will get a shit game. It is strategically interesting, but it's going to be a shit game.
We got shit games anyways, right? You guys understand?
So that's the way I see it. At least in this format, you get that best of 3, and you get that cool storyline. Did you know about Turkey Dano? Did you know about this guy? It did kill 2 people from Poland, and basically eliminated Poland because he was a cheeser and he knew what to do, and he prepared his games in advance a little bit, at least the builds that he wanted to use. And it's another cool storyline that derives from the all kill format. So as much as I would like to, and we will think about it, getting like that, set up Pro League, whatever kind of format, it is something that we will talk about. But I still truly believe that both in terms of organization, it is easier for us to do a all kill. It's also easier for us to have a lot of teams because of that. And also, I do believe that it brings a lot of great games to the tournament. And of course, Pro League format would do as well, but it would not be as easy. There will be a little bit more like super unbalanced games between, like, let's say we open to Masters, because if you do GM, you can't have 4 players. What's going to happen if you get like a top 50 Europe GM guy against a Masters player? There is not a chance in hell this guy takes a game. It is worthless.
The difference between like a top 25 GM player and Zero is probably bigger than the difference. Like, I honestly, that rule is so outdated, mate. Like, that's.
Do you really think that we would get a good game out of this?
Yes, I think the chance of like a guy with 5,200 MMR beating a guy that, like, let's say the GM rule is so bad anyway. Like, sorry, I know you have to go soon, so I will go on my end soon. But someone with 5.5 on Europe has a very realistic shot at beating any GM between like 5.3 and 5.8 on NA. But he will not even be GM on Europe, so he would not be allowed to play because he's not GM on Europe. Because the cutoff on Europe is like 5.7, on NA it's 5.3. So that rule is complete bullshit. It's a very, very, very outdated rule, but also made like the skill difference between someone, let's say like me, right? Like, what am I, 5'8", 5'9", on my best day, 6K. Do you know how many games I would have to play against Cyril to win one? I think I would go 0 to 100 real quick, actually, like legitimately. So I don't think that rule applies anymore. I just don't think that's a good rule.
So you would like just extend how like you can be in the tournament if you're masters, let's say.
Yes, and I mean I think that's already the case to some degree because there are clearly people that are NA GM, but they wouldn't be NA GM in Europe. So what's the point of that rule anyway? Like I don't think that changes that much.
So Ronnie's talking about a velo. So why don't you answer about that, Funk? What do you think about a velo getting in there and yeah?
That's hard. I just had to step in because that rule is very, very outdated. I also think. Anyway, Funka, go ahead and finish up.
No, I know it is kind of outdated, but you also have to have a rule, right? I mean, like obviously you can't be GM in SCE because this region doesn't really exist, so it doesn't matter. So it has to be like the 3 main continents, right? Like Europe, NA, and Korea. Like once again, I'm not the tournament director. Like I make a lot of calls in terms of editorial choices and stuff like that, like the videos we did and who to hire as a caster and stuff like that. That's the stuff that I'm a little bit, interested about. And those rules I tend to look at and I want to give my opinion, but ultimately it's not my choice, or at least not entirely mine. So I guess the rule in how you can be in the tournament could be changed, and we need to figure out everything, but it's just like, do we really want to go, do we really want to take away like the original flavor of the tournament, which is the all kill, to something that I do believe in terms of organization, and also just not even counting, like if you've got a four-man player, well, four-man team, then suddenly you have to fly out 16 people instead of 12. And I know it's not that's not that much of the difference, but it's like one thing that makes it a little bit more dangerous. All those guys, we had a lot of problems setting up the game in round of 32 because most of those guys, they're not professional, right? And you know about that, Roddy. You felt with it, how it was tough sometimes to get those players to be ready at, precise time and stuff like that. If we increase the number of players and we do it by allowing more non-professional players to be in the tournaments, then it's even bigger. It's an even bigger issue. It's an even bigger problem. So
yeah, these are problems I see, but these are also problems that I think you can absolutely work around, like 100%. I would never let my tournament structure be decided by giving it the feel that everyone can participate, but technically not have like the ideal setup for my top 16 teams, and rather have that like in a format where I feel like it's fun but not optimal, just because I want to make it easier in the round of 32. Like I see the problem, but I don't think that's a valid argument to not change things.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that I do believe it's not the only problem, and I think there's a lot that comes from changing this rule. But once again, I'm not saying, I can't say right now what's going to happen with Nation War 6. Like, not a chance. I wish I could be able to tell you that. I thought about that for the last 48 hours of what I was about to say in this show. I thought about it and I tried to figure out how to put my thoughts. So it's just that every season I'm quite satisfied with the actual sport result that comes from Nation Wars. I think the teams that are there, actually earn it. It's not every single year the same team. We've got a lot of changes from season to season in the top 4. We get a lot of great games. I think. Well, I didn't say every single good thing that happened from the all kill format, but once again, Finland, Germany, round of 8 would not have happened without an all kill format. Even for France, it's quite bad. I mean, we were taken down because of the format. France is arguably a better team if you take into account how deep the lineup was, but still, Raynor all killed us. But he brought that from the round of 32 to the round of 16, qualified as first place, because he was playing out of his mind, and this guy would be out in the round of 32. So, it's bad for France and probably bad for French viewership that the format was like this, but also you get that cool storyline, you get a lot of exposure for Raynor, who's an amazing kid that gave us a lot in the interviews. So I wish it was that easy, and you said it yourself, I think, Jeff, in the beginning, like there is no way for us to tell you to say, oh, of course we figured it out. It is the right call. Like we need to think about it. We need to figure out every single aspect of it, and we are doing it as much as we can, and we will be talking about that. Maybe asking the community We thought about that as well, like
Ooh.
putting it out there, wondering.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know. I think letting the community vote in general can be a risky thing, and so like letting them vote on how they want to vote.
It's even worse.
I would
Yeah.
just have a
Risk at this point.
socioeconomic like threshold, like people that make a certain amount of money and above can vote. Is I think what I would do. Call it like the proletariats or something. You know.
The esports earning ranking, or like how high
Well,
do we
we
have
can't
to
use
be?
that.
Have
Then I
Todd
can't
decide
vote.
everything.
But Funka, if you got to get top
no.
way, it sounds like the audio's fixed. By the way, it's really weird because it was actually fine for the
Yeah.
stream the entire time. It's not internet related. It's like Discord. So I
Oh.
apologize. I don't know.
Okay.
Cobra's
you
helping
sound
and
good
working
now.
behind the scene.
Well, I wonder very specifically, right? Like all kill format completely aside, because I totally see what you're saying. It's a much easier thing to run. There are super exciting storylines because of that. But what about the nations that do have more pain because of the fan votes specifically, right? So for 2 years in a row, Team USA is kind of forfeiting spots, right? Because we have a lot of popular streamers and stuff. And truth be told, I mean, I tuned into those games. I thought that it was fun to watch them play. But at the end of the day, USA is a team that could make a top four if we have our best lineup, right? But like,
So Funka,
like
what
Roddy
Dan's
says, like,
saying,
the latter is weaker. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, what Dan's saying though is that should America be punished for having more interesting, charismatic, intelligent, and just like well-liked people that can get out there and people just want to see them play because they're just so darn good at being great human beings, and then they have to go up against like the Netherlands, which is chock full of like great players, but not necessarily charismatic or intelligent people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I was trying
That's
to
what
say.
Dan was saying.
Yeah, of course. It's exactly what he was saying. Well,
yeah, what do you think?
I do agree. And if I had to, like, considering I'm still waiting on a call for, living, and yeah, if I had to summarize, I'd say there is a pretty high chance that we change the way we select the teams and select the players more than changing the formats. I would say that the process of selecting the teams is something that I will fight for or against, depending on where you stand on the issue. Like, I will try to make a change in this, because I do feel that it's quite sad that some players don't get the exposure, don't get like the chance to just be to just get to play in Nation Wars when they do believe it, when they do earn it. And I've got a guy. How many? 5 minutes? Okay, I've got 5 minutes. It's amazing. Nice. So it's like, definitely something that I would like to change is the way we select the players, and whether we select one guy that will have to pick the players directly, or maybe we can ask Roddy for the Netherlands or something like that, or you, Jeff, for Team USA. Maybe we get that guy to select 2 players, and maybe the community gets to pick the third one. So we keep the voting system in a way, so we get the audience invested. I think it's something that Blizzard likes as well. When they did the Overwatch World Cup first year, they did that voting system, right?
Yeah.
And we had the exact same issue. France was like 2 professional players, 4 streamers. Korea was 6 professional players, and they obviously tear down the tournaments.
Who was on that team?
For South Korea or for France?
No, France.
2 guys from Rogue, and then Alpha. The Alpha. Well, I don't know if you know about him. Alpha Cast, like pretty massive streamer in France, but mostly like Overwatch streamers. So
and
you
Lobo,
probably
right?
don't know those guys. No, Lobo was on it.
I was wondering why Jeff was.
I knew it.
I should have seen it coming. Oh, I'm such a noob. No, Lilbo wasn't down there. No.
But he was
And
at BlizzCon, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
And he was practicing the wrong expansion of StarCraft. You know that.
Okay.
And he lost in top 8 of contenders in
He's got to get ready
Overwatch.
to do well in a future tournament.
in Warcraft 4, maybe.
Yeah.
I heard he's in Challenger though.
Yeah, but
Cool.
he messed up a little bit. He lost in the round of 8. They did amazing in the group stage, but they messed up in the round of 8. But yeah, whatever. I mean, yeah, it's a problem when there is a difference between the way people vote, like, yes, Netherlands voted their best players and Roddy didn't sign up because he also knew that it would be a problem. And I think it's also a good thing that you maybe give a little bit of responsibility to people. I don't know about that. I'm not entirely sure. But if you don't want to be voted in because you feel like your team is not going to perform as well, then maybe just don't register.
Well, these are cultural problems. The Netherlands is full of like very, very nice, honorable people like Roddy, and then in America, man, it's all about me. That's
I mean, my main reason to not sign up, obviously, is because I generally felt like there are some people like, oh, Optimus isn't that much better than Roddy. I saw Roddy beat him on stream. It's like, yeah, I can win a game every now and then, but Optimus actually is clearly better than me. He's a solid 400 or 500 MMR higher than me on the ladder.
How many
and
games
the way
did he
that
win
I
in
would,
Nation Wars?
sorry.
How many games did he win in Nation Wars?
He didn't actually play that many, but he did beat like Jim Rising in the opening match in Mexico. Okay. And like, even though some people might think like, that didn't matter because Hearthstone or Utermo would have beat Jim Rising anyway, it has an impact on how all the other maps are being played out because the Dutch team, they plan it together. So Optimus winning his best of one against Jim Rising is actually a big deal. And if I would play against Jim Rising, can I win? Yeah, I can win, but I can also very likely lose. And that would have a negative impact on the rest of the performance. So even if Optimus didn't win that many maps, there is no saying that I would have done just as good as him. But my main reason not to sign up is clearly that, I respect Utermo and Hearthstone a lot. These are guys that work very hard. This is a tournament that I see as a very serious tournament where they could win a legitimate amount of money. I don't see how I could ever be like, well, guys, let's have some fun and potentially fuck them out of thousands of dollars. Like, to me, that is one of the most irresponsible things that I can do because I respect those guys. I find them hardworking and I want them to have all the success in the world. And for me to somehow ruin the chance on what is like a serious amount of money for them, because these are not guys that have like 600K in their bank, They make some money every now and then. But if they can walk away with like $6,000-$7,000 of Nation Wars, that's a big deal for them. And I would never want to get in their way of, having a chance to win that money, which they actually did.
Kevin, I got to follow up for you in a second, but first, Funka, I know that you got to go. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
I'm looking forward to your analysis on this Overwatch match you weren't watching, but I think you're
No, they put me out of the analysis desk. I'm actually casting the next one, so it's okay. I don't need to know anything, right?
No.
It's easy, I just yell
when you
stuff.
really know you're a caster when you go into a match not knowing what the fuck's going on.
Exactly.
I do want to say, though, the hype is real. I thought your commentary was very good at Nation Wars. You actually are a very good commentator. It was awesome. You did bring the hype.
Thank you.
And
Thank
your
you.
voiceover on the Match Reno page.
Oh.
Did you do the observing on that as well?
Of course I did.
It was
simultaneously.
I knew it was you.
No, but yeah, obviously working in Nation Wars with Roddy, Zombie Grab, Todd, it's always so easy. They make it so easy. So no, I actually hope that you guys are talking about the tournament because you did enjoy it. People that are watching, I hope you enjoyed the tournament. We will try and get a 6th edition going because we love the product, we love the tournament, and we want to do it more. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for putting it on. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
See you guys.
See you, buddy. Now we can talk a ton of shit, guys. All right.
Yeah, all right.
I'm sorry.
See ya.
No, Kevin, the whole time you were talking about how it's irresponsible to do that and you're taking money away from actual professional players, I couldn't help but to think, was Nation Wars last year also about the time that Nathanius and you stopped commentating together as much? Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason though. I mean, it may have something to do with that other game where you jump out of an parachute. No, not at all. Like, people should do what they want, but so I have a lot of things to say about Nation Wars, by the way. I wanted to
it's your time. It's your time.
And I know that we have different topics as well, so I really don't want to make
this is the big
hours. Okay, you talk as much as you want, Roddy. You're the perfect person to have here.
I want to do first things first. Is that actually they took really good care of us. US companies know how it is, where sometimes you travel and you're like, holy fuck, like, what is this? But since it's a very long tournament, I made it like a priority that, like, please give me a computer, like, if I'm going to be in Paris for 3.5 weeks, I would really like to, like, at least play some games, still be able to stream. They took care of that. They hosted us in an Airbnb, so that kind of stuff was all fun. I really liked the graphics. I think they really stepped it up. Production was cool. I think they did their best. I think they could have maybe innovated a tiny bit more, and some of the interviews maybe a little bit awkward. But I think overall that was all good. But I had a lot of talk with Funka before the tournament already, and I said like we should change the format. Like I felt very, very strongly about it, and I still do. I've got a couple things that I want to bring up. Please. First of all, I think the final event, because that was the first thing that was on my mind. I think our final day was fun, but I don't think it's something that should have happened the way it did. Because in the end of the day, we flew players like Jim Rising and Shem to Paris. They stayed in Paris for 3 days, and they played a best of one, and that was it. Like, I find that irresponsible. I think in 2018 esports, I don't think we can fly players around the world to play a best of one.
No.
Under the motto of like, let's put on a great show. Because yeah, of course we had a good show and everyone at home enjoyed it. But the former player, point. Yeah, the former player in me dies when I see that. You know, like I've been to places where best of 3 and that was bad. But a best of 1, like I don't see how you can fly people over for a best of 1. So I think that's something that really needs to be addressed in the future. Like the finals day was beautiful, the event was awesome, the crowd was sick. But looking at it from a player point of view, no, you can't do that.
Well, even from a production side,
what would you do to fix that, though? That's like a tough one, right? If you want to have 4 teams live, how do you fix that? Because there's going to be 2 losing teams.
Maybe you have to do it a 2-day event. Maybe you have to bracket. Maybe you put them in a round robin, and then you have a finals. But I think you need to, like, I think there are ways to address that. I think there are ways to address the entire tournament format. But yeah, that is just something that I don't think you should do again. Sorry, Jeff, what did you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I really agree with one of the points you touched on, too. Like, you were taking it from the player perspective, but even from a production perspective, like, I'm just going to put it out there. Blizzard's footing the bill, I'm guessing, having not worked at O Gaming, but I would say that Blizzard paid for these players to be flown out there, and they're paying the prize pool. It's like, it's a very big and expensive thing, but in 2018, like you were saying, to fly out 12 players and then, like, 6 or 7 of them or something like that are playing one game is like, it's a bad return on investment for Blizzard. So for us that want Nation War 6, they want other events, if Blizzard's paying this ridiculous thing for these players that aren't then getting shown or aren't getting exposed, and they're not getting a return on investment, then it comes next year, it's more on the chopping block. Of course, it's not literally boiled down to just that, but kind of like Funka said, one problem leads to another. If you're only seeing a player once and they're flown for a 3-day stay in Paris and they're playing 25 minutes tops,
yeah, that's a bright side, Jeff.
Yeah, you're right. It's Jim Rising, so it's like 3 games of 2.5 minutes. So it's like, I'm just kidding. He's taken so many ladder points from me. Like, I owe these jokes, by the way. It's not even. You were saying more though, Kevin. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I had just a couple things more to touch upon. I feel like we have done this all-kill format for like 4 or 5 years in a row now, or I guess 5 years. And I feel like it's something that can still work, of course. If you put 2 really good teams against each other, sometimes it plays out in an epic way, or you get epic games. I'm not saying that it will never create good stories, because obviously it always will. But I think the main reason why I think All Kill was a lot better 3-4 years ago is because the game was simply a lot more random. I'm sure you guys will attest to it. If you had in Heart of the Swarm, if you had like your proper little build, or you had your all-ins that were simply a lot more powerful, there was more chance for like upsets. A guy that was ranked 60 on the ladder had a pretty good shot at beating the guy that was 25 on the ladder if he had like his own streamlined little build. I feel in Legacy of the Void, the skill difference between people that may seem close in points on ladder is actually so freaking massive. Like, it's insane how much better a guy with 6'8" is than someone with 6'4" and 6'4" than 6K. I just don't feel like in All Kill you're going to get the same upsets and cool stories and cool back forward surprise upsets as we got a couple of years ago, with how much the game has developed and how much the skill has increased over the years by these players. And that's one of the main reasons why I truly feel we need to change the format, because I just don't think you're going to have those unique. And of course, upsets happen. Like, people will be like, well, what about Turkey Dano? Fucking amazing, legendary, literally be 2 guys in a row that have like 1,000 MMR more. Absolutely sick. But just because it happened in 1 out of the 32 matches, that's not an excuse to like, well, let's just keep on going with this forever. That's like betting your house on black at the roulette wheel. It's just
how many other upsets were there? And especially not on that level, of course, but like, how many other upsets were there? I can't.
A couple of tiny ones. I mean, obviously there were of strong performances. Like you could say special all killing was so sick. Yes, it was absolutely amazing. You know, that's something that can happen, and that's the beauty of the format.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should only look at the bright side to ignore all the downside. We have casted at least 25 games where the result was set in stone, and they always were, except like Turkey Dano being the legend that he is. You know, he was the true upsetter. But that's not a way to defend the system to me. If you have 20 broadcast days and there is one legendary story out of, you know, a guy that has that upset, what the format is made for, that's not enough in my opinion.
I agree. And I was sympathetic to what Funko was saying because it can feel like for a person in his position that people are like attacking him. I hope he knows, and I hope O Gaming knows that the message that's trying to be said is this was awesome, but as StarCraft people, we kind of always look to like improve everything, even things that we consider awesome. And I agree with you, and I agree with what Funko was saying to a certain degree too, where it's like you will get cool things out of all kill. I don't think anyone's arguing that. I think what is unknown and what I think people are trying to argue and lean in the direction of is, are those cool things more cool and happening more often than if it were in a different format? And that's the actual argument, because I don't know that Funko can say that, because if you look at all of this Nation Wars 5, you had Turkey Dano, you had Raynor, you had Specials All Kill, you had like 4 or 5 pretty damn cool. You had Special Cyril, Showtime Cyril. That was amazing. But a lot of these, I look at them and I say, do those not happen in a different format? Obviously in a different way. Like if Raynor just fucking carries his team and is the ace and wins and is the guy that comes in the tiebreaker match to win that, is that less epic than him all killing against 2 bad players in one?
Exactly.
I don't think so.
That's kind of what I feel as well. And like a couple of the arguments, and once again, I emphasize that this is not like, oh my God, sitting on tournament. Like I love Nation Wars and I still enjoyed it, and I will always enjoy being part of it. But you know, I want to make it better like everyone else. And I think we have done things in a certain way for a while now that I strongly feel about change. Because I also don't feel like Nation Wars should be like this fun herpy-derp tournament. Let's let the streamers play. It's so fun to see them compete. If they want to compete, like sign up for Go for StarCraft 2. It happens every Sunday. You can play in tournaments as well. I would like to see, like, you know, Dan, you felt very strong about how cool Nation was in your time during Brood War. We had it in Warcraft as well. I think it's fucking cool to see like the 4 best players of a nation go up against the 4 other best. Well, and Raynor can still carry his weight then, you know?
That's the problem, though, is because that's not what it is. For some countries, that's what it is, and for other countries, it's not what it is. So, like, if my country, America, is going to have personalities that are joining the team each time, I want to see Roddy play in the fucking tournament. But you refuse to do it because Optimus is better than you. So then we have, like, nations where players are responsible, like Rotterdam, and don't sign up. And then we have other nations where they're looking from a different standpoint, saying this is a fun tournament. Let's, you know, everyone sign up, and just whoever gets on the team, that'll, you know. And the thing is, those are fun games. Like I definitely watched, like when Nate played, I watched his games, and I had a great time doing that. Watching my friend, you know, playing against pro gamers and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the fact that there's not a strong identity for Nation Wars in this regard. Some people want to see all the pros like you. And then some people, like a bunch of Americans, want to see the famous streamer types play. And
some people want to see the world burn, though. That's why Neil got voted in. It wasn't because they want to see him play. It's because they knew it would. And it's not even like, I don't even blame Avil in the situation. It was this weird momentum thing that happened where he submitted because it's good for his channel, and so you can't really fault him. But then, you know, like people voted him in because they saw people were upset about it. That's how that kind of thing goes all the time anyways. It always goes that way, right?
Like I could live with, let's say, you know, like we have captains, you know, for every nation. And then you can say like, well, certain nations, that's going to be too complicated. You can just do it for your 16 main nations. And the round of 32 could still be a little more random. You know, that could still be the way that things have gone before, or we could still, you know, contact experts. There's always an expert somewhere in every country that's either a caster or part of Blizzard or part of the community as a trusted member. But I think you're going to have 3 players, you know, selected in agreement, and then 1 player up for voting. Like, I think that's fine. And you still have your voting element. You still get the online buzz of people talking about it. But, you know, I still think that would be a lot better overall. And a couple of the other problems like that were brought up when it came to like, oh, it has to be 4 Grandmaster League players. Like, I already touched upon that before. I think that rule is super outdated and completely irrelevant. Like a GM player that's like 5-3 MMR is not gonna have a better shot at beating Serral than someone that's not GM and is like 5-5 on Europe. You know, it's the exact same. They both have no shot. That's just the way it is.
Right.
I think that rule is just too outdated.
It's just unnecessary. If that is the best player for that country, then don't set up an arbitrary line that they have to hit GM or something. Like,
yeah.
And what we had in the past, Nature, was just do this one last time. We should wrap this up though, so we can move on to other subjects. But the argument keeps popping up too, where they're like, well, what about such and such country where they have 2 good players and then the rest like literally are not very good? If they actually can't get a team together, then I wasn't interested in them in Nation Wars anyways, and having 1 good player and 2 absolutely trash players, and like that's what we do, and the format like funnels you in that direction is just not interesting to me. Whereas those weaker players in the past, by the way, just to reiterate this one more time, they were oftentimes your 2 versus 2 players, or they were your Turkey Dano, who is like, we're going to do something crazy on this map, knowing we're probably going to get a Protoss or Terran or something like that, and then you can do this extra layer of strategy. But in an all-kill format, you do get to pick the map, kind of, if it had, there's the rules for where the maps pop up. But then if you're facing a Serral, it doesn't fucking matter. You're going to get mowed down anyways. And even if you do get a win, they get revived. So now you have to win a best of 3 against that guy.
You know, the funniest thing is, like, let's say there is a 4-man line. Let's say, like, hypothetically speaking, it's Finland against Netherlands in all-kill format. There are 4 maps. Like, the job of a captain would then be like, all right, which map do I think they put Serral on? And then we'll sacrifice the GOAT, the worst player on the team. You're going to play Serral. You're going to get annihilated, but then maybe our other 3 players can win. And I think that creates a lot of fun mind games as well, and scheduling, and should get people excited to even just figure out who starts on what map. So I think another format could also be very exciting. Like, I think All-Kill has given us really good things over the years, like some legendary moments, but I think after 5 years, I think it's really due for a change. And I think it's due for like maybe the overall approach of Nationwide being like, there's still room for fun, and it's always going to be fun and casual, and we're going to do interviews, but let's actually find out, which nation is legitimately the best. And maybe the answer is South Korea, obviously, but, let's do it in a 4v4, let everyone play, and let's everyone fight for a map, because I think that would be really cool to see.
And you touched on something that's a really, really good point to me, which is there's significant money behind this. These players playing this, those teams are comprised mostly of professional players. They're fighting for money that actually matters to them. But Nation Wars has this kind of funny feeling of it's entertaining, it's goofy, it's got a little bit of a laid-back feel, but then also it fills a fucking auditorium with 1,200 people and you're fighting for tens of thousands of dollars. Like, it is a funny mix, and I don't mind that. That's why I still enjoy it, but I wouldn't mind, as Dan said earlier, them kind of picking a side. Am I going to see Roddy versus goddamn Nathanius, which would be hype as fuck, or am I going to see Showtime and Serral in the ace match between Finland and Germany to decide who wins $40,000? Like, both those are cool. I'm okay with either one, but I just wish the event would kind of say, hey, this is to determine who the best country is, other than Korea.
Stronger identity. And it can go either way. I'll still watch Nation Wars. It's a great tournament.
That's true.
I enjoyed it a lot. It's just, when I look at the difference of like Rotterdam not signing up and then streamers signing up in America, I'm like, well, I like America to do well. But
I guess they won't unless Neep really turns it on. Thank you. Great conversation. Shout out again to Funka. We didn't get to do this, but make sure you guys check him out. We had the graphic up earlier or whatever. You guys know.
Did you just go away again? Cutting out a little bit, buddy.
Okay, can you hear me?
All right. So
then
the stream can.
Let's go on to the. Oh, there you go.
I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. This is so fucking weird. If it happens again, Dan,
computers and technology can't be trusted. Yeah, no. It's okay. What are we going on to next?
That's what
I have
I'll
our
do.
whole list of topics, so I don't know what order you want to go in, Joe.
I know. So we normally lead off the show with this, but we're going to do this right now. Kevin, everybody, just keep this in mind. If you're a content creator, let us know. We'll advertise your stuff. We want to just put it out there. So we've got a few things here. There is what is this on screen? It's the super sweet graphic coming later, but for now, Base Trade's putting on a $6,500 prize tournament. The top 16 get paid. There's a thread on Team Liquid, as you can see there. It's a Vancouver LAN, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I was watching, I think, some of the qualifiers today, where Optimus and Harstem actually went up Optimus actually defeated Hearthstone, in the running to still make it to Vancouver. So that's a pretty sick victory after Hearthstone has been on an absolute rampage lately. And Optimus seems to be really getting some good Protoss victories under his belt, guys. Like, he defeated Mana, he defeated Neep, now he defeats Hearthstone. Like, Optimus is looking really good in this matchup.
Yeah,
Karen, from what I understand, it's not
starting
possible to beat Protoss.
Yeah.
I heard something about a broken mouse at Hearthstone's side, Neep a little bit of lag, Mana distracted by his dog, I think so.
The Koreans were tired. Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then the second thing we got going on here, my beautiful producer can pull it up here, is the... I don't even know what this is, but this is awesome. So Master Swan Open number 2 this Friday, 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. What do we got here?
Yeah. Is it open for everybody?
This is a...
dedicated to Bronze to Masters 2 players.
There you go, Dan.
Those
there you go.
Players. Oh, Roddy.
I'm kidding. That's
Look,
yeah.
That's cool though.
Also, what is this? The best of 69 between Top and Parting. What is going on with that exactly?
That's gonna be
doing that.
I'm not sure if they are serious or not. Actually, like I was reading the tweets because they were like obviously they're both streaming. Top is kind of a trash talker for sure. And I guess, it doesn't really work if you're going up against Parting, because Parting is really good. And I think Parting called him out, but I'm not sure if that was that serious or not. Maybe someone can confirm. And then they basically settled on this best of 69. But I think this is going to be absolute murder, because I think that Parting is probably going to absolutely destroy Top left, right, and center.
I mean, Top has been in Korean GM and been active the entire time, even though we don't really see him pop up too much.
Parting is better. Parting is quite a bit better already.
Top play. I'm sorry to do this, but I'm gonna do it. Top sometimes plays on the North American ladder, and I'm sure he's goofing around, but I actually beat him 50-50 or so, and I am fucking terrible right now. So it's like
okay, well, this best of 69 should be quick, but I noticed so it's going to be on base trade on April 28th, 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which means it's 9 a.m. in Korea. So he's because you can play in a 16 to 18 hour period, as you well know, Roddy, about 70 games.
Oh my god!
So what the time they're starting it, they're gonna, I guess, go through it in one day. And
if I was Top, I would try to play Mac every game. I think that's your way to just make him ultra tired. Let every game 27 minutes.
And just on your stream behind you is fans and stacks of food and water, and you're just no, I'm in for 2 days, man. Don't worry.
The Muhammad Ali strategy. Let's go. Just make him tired.
Oh my god. What do we have next, Cobra? What's the next one?
Yeah, just real quick while we get that set up, I want to mention still working on this thing where we showcase what is going on in the community, and I'm sure it'll get a lot smoother. And it's something we want to do at the beginning of the show, as Jeff said. So continue to let us know when you got things happening, and there you go.
I guess there's the Have At You tour.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me introduce it. Right.
Oh, this is a whole subject. Never mind. You go for it. Yeah.
It's a whole subject, Jeff, and I have it already. Okay. And there's two different pieces to this, right? So it's Brood War time, Roddy. I know you're excited about that.
Hey, I came to the studio once to watch you guys. Don't give me that.
That's true.
I traveled from Gyeonggi all the way to Seoul to watch you guys cast. Yeah. And I've got a beautiful remastered jacket,
Yeah. Even I don't have that.
I know.
So so Brood War, right? The difference between Koreans and non-Koreans in StarCraft 1 is vastly larger than in any other game. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've said this before, but I'll say it again. League of Legends, you think your Koreans are good? They're not. Overwatch, you think your Koreans are good? They're not. StarCraft 2, you think your Koreans are good? They're not. Okay, but the thing is, they're all good, and they all do win their games, right? And they are the champions of every single game. But it's nothing compared to StarCraft 1. StarCraft 1, they are fucking leagues ahead. So whenever you even have a foreigner, especially in the old days, right? It maybe Back then, it's like if a foreigner even takes a game or has a close game against a Korean, you're like, damn, and that like makes their career and their fame's basically forever at that point because they had a close game against a good Korean player. So there's a couple things I wanted to bring up and give just little shout outs to because it's epic. Eon Zerg beat Best on the ladder, which was pretty sick. And I know that there are some victories against some of these top guys by foreigners nowadays, but he posted to his YouTube channel. It's a sick macro game, really good stuff. You can check out youtube.com/Eon Zerg for that really good ZVP play. And then the Have At You tour from Shamtu, which is like, I think he's doing it bi-weekly right now. And it's basically a donation-based prize pool, but pretty good. Like third and fourth got like 75, and first got like 200. Second was like 100, something like that. So pretty reasonable prize pool for a smaller tour and stuff like that.
It's out of pocket.
Yeah. And in the finals, it was an amateur Korean, Shiny. If you watch a lot of Brood War streams, you probably kind of know who he is. Not like a pro, but a good Terran. And he beat Koget, the Polish Terran, who's actually like very charismatic. I like that guy. He beat him 3-2. So he took 2 maps off of him, right? Which is not. I was like, how did that happen? So I watched, and he like lost the first 2 games pretty bad, and then he proxied a fact and ran by, killed all the SCVs. Then he proxied a fact again and just did a tank push and killed him. And then the last game he went 8 racks. And when he went 8 racks, right? And when Shiny stopped it, he scouted what Koget had, which was almost nothing. Shiny typed "get out" in the final game of a tournament. And what do you think Koget did?
He got out.
He did. He said GG and he got out. What the fuck? Someone tells me to get out, my buildings are flying to the corner. Yeah. Anyways, that was
honorable and classy people out there.
Yeah, that's all I had to say about that. But yeah, some cool Brood War happenings in the non-Korean scene right there.
So if some of you non-Korean or Korean viewers, if you're listening and you guys get some big wins, let us know. Dan will geek out about it, and I will.
Yeah.
Roddy and I will sit here and listen.
I love how it's news that somebody beat someone good on the ladder. That is amazing.
I was just thinking about 3 white guys on a podcast being like, yeah, this guy took a game off of Best, and I'm just like, well, here we are.
Listen. Okay, this is my thought process on this. Okay, the Brood War scene is super small for non-Koreans right now, and it's a great game. Jeff, I know you and I really want this game to do well, and I think just giving a little bit, steering a little bit of people around, letting them know there's like these good players, there's good stuff happening. I wanted to bring it up. So there you go.
I'm not. We're just teasing you.
Yeah,
I need to do more of this for sure. And hopefully, and I'll always just kind of toot this horn, hopefully there'll be a huge tournament that we can talk a lot about, get really excited about the players, interview people, bring them on, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to do it. So this next subject is absolutely, it's a slow news week for StarCraft, so Jeff came up with an idea. But you guys know this because you watch Rotterdam stream. He's one of the most prolific Roddy streamers out there. And then you know this because you know Dan. He gets to talk about it, the GSL. But we've had a lot of time and funny stories and memories in StarCraft, and I thought we would do one subject here to just share some of those stories, to share what we thought, some of our favorite memories. And I probably should have told you guys beforehand that I was doing this, but I'm an evolving host is my excuse. Sometimes you can't even understand what I'm saying because I turn into a robot, so it is what it is. I would say keep this rated triple X, so don't go too far beyond that.
Okay. You have to start, Jeff.
Yeah.
While we
so I know which direction to even think.
That's a good. I should start.
This is really funny because he thought of this and didn't tell us, but then he didn't even think of anything.
I didn't.
Oh my god.
Yeah, listen.
Oh my god.
In my defense, I moved my entire fucking house in 3 days, and it sucked. Best StarCraft memories. I think this is just off the cuff, but one of my favorites is I had this moment. This is a really obscure one, but BlizzCon like 2 years ago, we did a panel, Tasteless, Artosis, myself, and Day 9, on just like StarCraft on the BlizzCon stage.
Oh, yeah.
And we're sitting in stools. And I actually, this is going to sound like, anyways, it is what it is. I have a pretty good relationship with Mr. Morheim. We are friends. We talk. I respect the hell out of his entire career. He created StarCraft. It's amazing. But I also like jokes. For you guys that don't know me very well, I don't think of a joke and then like map it out and plan it and then execute it. It just pops up in my head and it comes out of my face. And
I had no idea, Jeff. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
please continue.
now you know. And I call myself about an 80 to 85% good joke guy. So I think that's really good. But there's about 15% where I say it and I go, you know what? That was bad. That was pretty dumb. And on the stage of BlizzCon, on a panel of 4 people, moderated and streamed out to 100,000 people and in front of a live audience, maybe not the best time to tell a bad joke, but I did. And it was they were talking about like, talk about some of your early moments of StarCraft. And I was like, well, you know, it was so amazing because for the first like 5 BlizzCons, Dan used to sneak me into BlizzCon and I'd sleep on his floor and just kind of, we'd share badges and I'd go and attend BlizzCon for free. And I thought it'd be this really endearing, funny story because I was going to finish with, and now they're paying me to come here. But I look over at Mr. Morheim, and I was expecting him to be like a jovial, like, oh, you smile, but he's just dead-faced staring at me. And I was like, and I just had this moment of like, I look at him and he's looking at me. I'm expecting laughter, but I get 180 of laughter. And then I had to like look back at the audience and be like, huh, you know, and like everyone gave the polite laugh or whatever. But that was one of the times I died. That was one of the times.
Yeah.
That's good. One of my favorites. One of my other
But
favorites.
I mean,
I'll
that's
keep
one of
going.
your favorites moments, as in like you life things are okay. But like,
Yeah. No,
it's not
of course.
actually your
You can't
favorite
tell-
moment.
You can't tell a story when it doesn't have, it doesn't work out or something like that. But
Well, in Jeff's to keep on what Jeff said there, I'm gonna go ahead and tell a really quick one. Okay, so it was early in the morning on BlizzCon a few years ago, and we were about to go out and do a cast. Like it was the first cast of the day, right? And everyone was getting their makeup done, and they made us come in way early that day. So I laid down on the couch that was closest to the door. All my friends around me, all the StarCraft casters, my close friends that I love and cherish and value. And then I wake up and I look around and no one's there. And I'm like, I wonder where everyone is. And so I kind of look around. I look out. Tasus is standing at the casting desk. Everyone's over on the couch. I'm like, oh shit, I have to go cast. And I ran up there and I didn't have my makeup on. I didn't have my hair done. I had a bit of bedhead because I was laying on the couch and no one fucking woke me up. So basically you guys were all a bunch of assholes. That's
I don't know, man. I don't really, I can't really think of anything. Like when I think of things that made me happy, I think of our rehearsals at Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, maybe like 4 years ago, Jeff, where you and Red Eye had a little back and forth. I think that's one of my all-time favorite moments. Like I still die when I think about it. As Red Eye was kind of firing some shots at Jeff, but as Too Good tried it as well once upon a time, like and they just come back even harder. And obviously, I think we had our moments at Home Story Cup. Like there's a lot of like amazing moments. I think the funniest thing that you ever said, and I don't really want to repeat it because I'm still not sure if it was okay or not, but it was the interview with Solar, and I'm sure where Solar was talking about going up against the Polish players, and you had some encouraging words for him. So
I think I said you. Oh, yeah. No, because he endearingly said, "I want to kill some Polish players," and I was like, "I said, I think you're in the right." Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah, I think his exact words were like, "I want to destroy Poland." I said, "Well, something along those lines." Well, they actually they took it well. Everyone started laughing. That was funny. I don't know. I don't really have anything like a similar story like you guys though. Like when I think of funny things, I think of Jeff mostly.
Well, that's what this whole segment's about. Yeah, it's.
Obviously, there's like a lot of moments that I had there in the old days where, if you ever run into Ben, you can, back, it was really funny because when I did all the events with Ben, we always shared rooms. And back then I was obviously a lot younger as well, so that was kind of funny. We had some funny moments all around the world where
Early esports, you guys,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you guys were Pathfinders. You were two of the ones that like, well, I mean, and Dan as well. But some of the things that people had to be subjected to as early commentators are amazing. But not as one of the worst, but one of my favorite, and I'll never forget this image is, and Dennis, bless his heart, the guy that puts on Home Story Cup. You guys know him, Take.
Mhm.
He's a bit of he's got that German work ethic in him a little bit. So he used to just have Mr. Bitter and Kevin commentate Home Story Cup, like every single match, and then players would kind of join them. But for the most part, it was one of those two or both of them for everything. And Mr. Bitter at the end of like day 4 of, because this is the other thing, keep in mind, Home Story Cup's like a 5-day tournament. It's a very long tournament. Or 4-day, I think it's 4 now. Anyways, day 3 or 4, Mr. Bitter, and I can't do it on stream because I will be off camera, but I've never seen a guy slouch so hard. He just had like hair coming out of his belly button, his shirt was rolled up, like he's just like completely quadruple chin, and he's not a big guy. He's just like fallen inside of himself, and he's just like, well, Roddy, this speed zergling opening on this map seems to be pretty common. And from here, is it usually just the roach push that happens afterwards? And I'm across the room, like beer in hand, looking at this, and it was one of the most, and I can't do we need Nathanius to do the full impression, but.
Jeff, like now that I'm thinking a little bit, I have a slightly similar story to what you just said, and I'll tell it real quick. This is in the very early days when I was casting with Ben, and you guys know Ben, Mr. Bitter, a very nice guy, and he can take a lot. But in 2010, 2011, I think I was kind of a prick, and like we were really good friends. But my style of commentary, because I was kind of new to StarCraft commentary, right? I knew how to cast Warcraft, but I pretty much either always casted with myself or I casted with someone who truly knew nothing about the game. Like there was clearly a caster of a different game, but they just led the broadcast and they only let me talk about Warcraft. So I was kind of new to this StarCraft thing. And because I was joking a lot with Ben because we were friends, I had this tendency to, whenever he would say something, I would be like, well, on your level, maybe. It's clearly different here. And I did that a little too often. And at one point, there was actually another moment like that. And I truly didn't mean it like that. To the day of today, I will tell you, and he knows as well, and he laughs about it, that there was another moment like that. I forgot the details. And I kind of said something along those lines, but I was like, even on my level. But like, I really didn't mean anything bad with it. And then after the broadcast, we walked home. And he's like, hey, you really have to fucking stop doing that. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, seriously, you have to fucking stop talking about me on the broadcast like that, because the people see me the way you talk about me. Don't want to hear another fucking word about it, like it's typical Southern man walking home, and I was like head down, walking up silently next to him. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I'm sorry. And like since that day, I don't think I've ever made a similar comment again. And like now, if you ever ask him about it, he will still smile about it. Because I've known him for like 8-9 years now. And that's literally the only time ever that he raised his voice to me, where he's like, gotta stop and fuck doing this. Stop doing that, And I really didn't know, but it like hit me so hard at that point where like I was like, oh, fuck.
This story makes me miss Mr. Bitter, and I feel like we need him now more than ever. We need him to tell Todd to fuck off with esports earnings, man. That's what we need.
You say it. Todd's in the chat. He hears you, man. You'll get a cheeky comment or two.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I'll take this one on the chin, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories, but I definitely should have prepared my guests for what this was. So we'll come back to it in the future, but I will give them some preparation, because this next subject may or may not include an Artosis rant. So it's going to be one of my favorite moments of the entire day. It's called GSL/ASL Artosis Map Rant Part 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this is all right. Well, I mean, ASL, I already kind of talked about it before.
Trying to snipe Terran or Flash, really.
Yeah, they're sniping Terran, and it's like the map Sparkle needs to be brought into an alley and shot in the head and then thrown in a river and never used again. It's completely unwinnable for Terran at this point, so that's kind of crazy.
Todd says spoken like a true 12K earner, by the way.
He doesn't know how many graphics cards and CPUs and monitors I sold on eBay. Okay, so at least 15.
I'm going to throw myself under the bus a little bit because it's not fair that it's just Dan taking all the heat. I actually, 2 tournaments ago, have earned more money in Warhammer than I ever did in StarCraft 2.
Damn. I had to get into the Warhammer game.
Yeah. That's where hundreds of dollars are. Go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, ASL, we're in the round of 8. We're halfway through. And the last match was super good, so people should definitely check that out. Hero versus Mind. I suppose you guys probably didn't see that, so I don't need to go into too much depth. But it went to 5 games. It was super epic. It was especially hilarious to watch Sparkle, where Terran cannot win. That was painful. But I was kind of bugging the StarCraft Remastered team to put, and I'm sure a lot of people were, to put ASL maps into the map pool.
Yeah.
And they put Gladiator up there and Transistor up there, and they didn't put Sparkle. Thank God, I was so wrong. I'm so glad they didn't put Sparkle up there. It's the worst map. It's so bad. But this the Third World map is doing really well. We're having a lot of good games there. So we'll get away from the ASL thing. I'm not going to rant again about
that. Was your
maps. I
rant?
did that last week. No, I didn't need to rant. I ranted last time. And if Flash loses, next week is when you can see the real rant. Because if Snow beats Flash because of these fucking maps, man, and all my Terrans are dead. Ooh.
But then it gets interesting because Flash winning, I think, is actually really bad for the game. I think it'd be really bad.
If he wins ASL?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he'd have like solved the game. It's like just solved.
Well, it's not solved. It's evolving. Like, he's changing the meta ahead of time. He notices, like he said in his interview, that he notices like a 1% drop in his win rate, and he'll start working on new builds. And it's just like the game isn't figured out. That's the whole point. He figures it out quicker than everybody, and he changes it. And I mean,
he figures it out quicker than everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Solved is the wrong thing. I just mean that he's head and shoulders better than everybody.
Yes,
and has
that's
been
true.
Forever.
That's true. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how good he is.
It's like watching Michael Jordan in his prime play high school basketball against high school basketball players, and we're all like, "This is interesting. This is great." He's been dunking from half court every game, and nobody can stop him.
It's something like that, yeah. What do you want here? He's the greatest gamer ever to have lived. It's nice.
Wow,
it's enjoyable.
That's grubby. Next question.
But we should talk about GSL a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Kevin, you watch GSL almost every time.
You guys have been watching GSL, right?
Yeah, of course.
How many foreigners do we have left? Because that's actually, I'm completely biased.
We have 2 foreigners left right now. We have sort of, and like technically Zanster's still in the tournament, but his group is oh my god, his group is so hard. If he gets out of there, he's a god. But okay, so we had Group A and B. We've had Group A, B, and C, and Laser and Scarlet both got 3rd place in their groups. Did you watch those games already?
Yes. Well, I definitely watched everything of Group A. I was very conflicted in Game 3 between Laser and Beyond, because obviously I really want to be amazing for him, and that would also be in a matchup where he didn't really have most of his success in his career. But on the same end, like the way that Beyond was playing on Blackpink, I was like, this is some old school Beyond magic almost. Like I really felt that he was hitting his stride, and even if a couple Medavacs did die into Spore Crawlers and Queens, the pace that he kept on while still expanding like a madman and transitioning into a super strong army, not just literally trying to win the game with Marines and tanks, I was really impressed. So that Game 3, I was like, Laser, Beyond, I'll be happy either way. It was a sick game. Unfortunately, Laser couldn't close it out, but I really enjoyed that group. The group of Scarlet, I didn't watch everything, but I obviously did watch her final series against Patience, and a little bit of a heartbreaker.
A big heartbreaker, I thought. It made for a nice series, of course, and we're gonna I'm gonna say it. I'm completely biased. I wanted Scarlet to advance because Patience is a great, good player, but I just find the GSL way more interesting when there's a foreigner making waves as opposed to. I still find it interesting, by the way. It's still a great show, obviously. I really enjoyed Scarlett's run previously, where she went really deep and it was really interesting. But that was there's not too much to criticize because on that stage at that time, and especially against Patience, who plays a best of series really well, by the way, constantly mixing it up and doing different things, and also being really aggressive all the time. I think Patience is a very difficult opponent. Like going into it, you're not sure if it's going to be mega cheesy all in, and then executed really crisply behind that with some like timing attack. or vice versa. But it's he's a tough opponent, I think.
Yeah, he gets in your head. It's really funny. I think patience when you go up player or slightly, it goes as like sort of a roller coaster. Where in the beginning you probably feel quite confident, and then the more games you play, like the more annoying it gets, and the more frustrating, and the more of a guessing game it gets. But then if you would play like X amount of games, let's say 8 or 9, then I feel like you're starting to figure out the range of his build, so to speak. But yeah, I can, especially in a format like this where you play him 2 best of 3s, first one goes to distance, second one, like that final game, that's tough, man, going up against someone like him.
Yeah, and he had to show a lot of PVZs, so I definitely agree with Jeff on the amount he can kind of mix that up. But he was like playing much better by the end of the night too. It's too bad though that Scarlet didn't get through. I mean, there's still a chance for these other guys, and to be honest, the Laser should have won that Catalyst game against Beyond. So that's kind of a heartbreaker, and he's not known for his ZVT, so
it was a good showing. Like the way that he looked in his ZVZ as well, I thought that was very impressive. I mean, Linok even the previous season had a pretty good showing, right? Really showed that he's still a quality Zerg. He may not be like the dominant force of 2013, but still pretty freaking good, still eager to have a deep run. And Laser kind of outclassed him in those EVZs. Like I felt like he was in control from the get-go. So I was happy to see that already. Like it was a really good showing. The games against Classic, I wasn't blown away by it because the game on Catalyst was ugly. I think the win of Laser overran him. But overall, that series wasn't great. But yeah, the Linux series was really good. And then I think game 1 against Beyond was good. Game 2 was decent, but I think Beyond was just very strong. And I think game 3, like you said, I think that, I think you guys mentioned it even today, right? That big attack in the middle of Catalyst.
Push.
Yeah.
He was like against 2 Vikings and he turned around, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna sound weird to say this, but if you're in the chat and you haven't watched GSL, definitely check it out. It's just been, I know it's always been a good show, but I do feel like what Kevin said earlier is really true. Legacy of the Void is like the better players winning more often. The level of play is higher. I can't really watch any other night than Friday night just because of the hour it's on. But the Friday night that I've watched the last couple of weeks has been like all the games are pretty fucking sick, or at least the series is sick, is how I would describe it, if not every game. And I'm loving the non-Korean presence, even if it is just the fact that they're making it into the GSL and then they're giving a good showing and not getting completely bopped. It's kind of fun. We're all in the same boat, and I imagine a lot of people in the chat are, but it's fun because there was time where it was like, oh my God, so-and-so qualified, and then it's like, sit down, you nerd, and it's just like terrible. I think of a lot of, I feel bad because like Greg's kind of my whipping boy, but like Greg against MC happens so many times where it's like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And then MC just like clawed his way into his brain and just made it a terrible best of 3 or 5 or whatever. It was just bad.
By the way, Dan, you said like you think Zenz is going to have a tough time. I agree with that group is sick, but I think Sordov's group is actually really sick too, though. Like, I feel like he has to beat the Protoss.
It's strong, but sort of I could see getting out of this group. Whereas I look at that group for Xanster and I'm like, oh man, how do you even prepare for that? It's like, like sort of plays some good ZVPs, man. Like he had SOS dead to rights in that previous season he played in, but he just like stopped making Roach Warrens, Would you agree that if sort of would somehow make it out of that group, then it would probably be on the fate of Zest? Because I don't think that sort of and Zest can advance. Because I think Alive, if let's say like Alive would play sort of maybe if sort of plays both Protosses in a row, is that possible?
Zest is that weird guy though that still doesn't feel like one of the absolute best players, but actually just is. He just like shows up and beats everyone or plays really well. It's insane.
That would be sick. Would be fun to see Trap against sort of as well.
Yeah, Trap is quietly one of the best Protosses in the world. So I mean, it's certainly a tough group, but I give him a higher chance than Xanster. I feel for Xanster in that group. Like Maro's just too on fire, and then Deer is just always very sharp and very good, So.
And ZVT is also not that matchup where you can have like a relatively quiet game. You can either do a terrible attack and look very bad or you just sit back and you receive it all. But yeah, if the person that's giving it to you is Maru and Bunny, it's like, okay, those games, they could actually start off with like 19 dead rounds. Well, let's hope for Zensu that's not the case.
Did you guys watch GSL last night?
Yeah,
No.
I mean that's the day that Fear Dragon has been dreaming of.
I know.
Well,
The Blink DTs road, but the thing I want to bring up about yesterday is Keen and how fucking depressing his career has to be.
oh, yeah.
Because you can
Jeez.
see the look on his face when he's bashing top pros, and he continually does it, right? Like he had Maru dead, and then Maru had to double proxy Rex him twice, right? He had him dead in the first series, he beat in the first game in the second, and Maru has to come back with cheese. And then like he's knocked Zest out before. He's knocked a lot of good players out before. Like Keen's good games look like he's one of the best Terrans in the world without a doubt, right? And like he bashed Solar, and then he like one of the games he bashed SOS, and then he lost.
Yeah.
You know, it just I look at Keen and how he almost always dies in the round of 32, and no one ever talks about him. And
It's,
there's not enough tournaments for him to show himself, but like his good games are so good, and I think he knows that he's actually a very high level player, and he just hasn't gotten the right break yet. And it's sad.
Yeah, that last game on Blackpink was sad because I felt he was handling the fights really well, and it's just like, how do you prepare for that? Like, how many games do you practice against someone playing Blink DT with the control of SOS? Like, you know, the amount of multitasking, like you guys mentioned as well, is like you have to have all the DTs always out of scan range. At the same time, he has to scan his army, and he's still got some really good fights. But that's when 2-2 kicked in. It's like, okay, the good fights are not good enough, and then eventually it's like Giggle 3-3. It's like, okay, literally nothing dies.
Yeah. And by the way, that just kind of goes to show that SOS is such a special human. That interview at the end where he's like, yeah, I got bored of playing Protoss, so I thought I'd use Blink DTs for fun. And then I had a 90% win rate with this strategy, so I decided to use it today. And it's like, you are such a special human, SOS. Like,
And it's still unclear as to whether or not he's being cheeky or if that's just literally what comes out of his brain.
I think that's just the way he thinks and the way he is. He's just kind of like a different type of guy.
I think when your control is that good, like that's one of those builds that like it looks so fun, and then you do get so miserably destroyed that you'll literally never do it again because it's very intense. It's like way more intense than it ever looks like. But yeah, if you are as good and fast as SOS, then you can have a lot of fun with Protoss.
Well, GSL, good stuff. Check it out. We've got one more topic here, and then we're going to go to the Q&A and wrap up the show. Dan, take it away.
Okay. So our last big topic is teams in StarCraft 2. Because, right, okay, we used to have the Kespa teams. They were pretty dominant. It was this big to-do when Byun won GSL, right? He won GSL. He was the first teamless Korean player ever to win, ever in Korea. Literally ever. It was like 17 years of Koreans on pro teams winning. So he won, and then he won BlizzCon, and it was right around the time the Kespa teams disbanded. And it was actually like so fortuitous for the game because the Kespa teams were disbanding, which looks really terrible, right? Teams are disbanding and like it looks like the scene might be dying or something, but then Byung comes in and shows you don't need a fucking team. Byung's here, he's an army of one, right? And like it was such a cool finals and stuff because like all the players are going to SOS's booth. And you know, Byung is just sitting there alone, and you see that dichotomy and the fact that he still wins. Okay, so there you had it. Now, the only remaining Korean team is Jin Air Green Wings. I would like to read for you guys their results as of late. Here we go.
I think I know where it's going.
Season 3 of GSL 2006. Here we go. I'm going to name every premier tournament and how their players did. GSL Season 3 in 2017. Second place went to SOS. IM Shanghai, first place to Rogue. GSL Super Tournament number 2, first place to Rogue. WCS Global Finals, first place to Rogue. 2018 GSL Season 1, first place to Maru. IM Pyeongchang, second place to SOS. IM Katowice, first place Rogue. WESG, first place Maru. The Super Tournament 1 is the only thing that second place in out of all the. Okay, so Jin Air is crushing StarCraft 2 right now. It's not even close. It's
So what you're
it's the only
saying,
team left.
Dan, what if I got together a bunch of really top-notch Koreans, we put them in a house, and paid them to play StarCraft and win all these tournaments for us?
Yeah.
It's
What if
just
we
so
did
crazy it could work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory when you look at that. There was definitely a period in there where Jin Air wasn't winning everything in between the disbanding of teams and now. So what has changed? Why has it changed? And also, kind of a side note to this, and something I wonder about, right? There are some other teams out there, okay? But how do these teams function? Like, for instance, Splice, right? They've got a top Zerg, a top Terran, a top Protoss. But these guys don't live together, right? They don't practice together. So, like, what are teams in StarCraft 2? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this.
I think maybe one thing that I can just say real quick is obviously like Rogue really took it to a whole nother level. Even Maru, when it came to the amount of money that he started winning, right? Maru has always been successful and he had his ups and downs. There is maybe a chance that, you know, when the Neils hit and a lot of those teams disbanded, that some of those guys in the house, they looked at each other and be like, you know what, guys, like, if we want to make some good money, we should really freaking go for it now. You know, like an extra motivation in many ways, knowing that they have something that other people don't. And they're already, like Jeff said, so freaking talented and good that if they can see this as an opportunity to go harder than ever, I mean, yeah, what's going to stop them?
My only thing, like, I like the subject, but it's unfortunately I become the curmudgeon old man where I like, this is where I just whine about how outdated and not outdated, but how brutal the business model is in esports. The very nature of sponsors, the very nature of like where money can go, because everyone's flying by the seat of their pants. That's like an investor or a sponsor. They don't have like a budget of $70 billion, and they're like, well, let's take a risk and go here, and then we'll dabble here. They're like, no, this is our budget. League of Legends is the game right now. Let's go there. Or, oh my God, it's Fortnite. Let's sponsor some purple-haired dude, and he's gonna wear a shirt. And I don't know, does he dance or something? It's very top-heavy in terms of like, because a lot of times the people that have this money or at least control it, they're not actually super plugged into gaming itself. They're more just like, where are the eyeballs, and then they go there. And it creates these like droughts and these really rough patches where like StarCraft was the game at the top of esports. So all these sponsors came in and teams had giant budgets, teams had giant rosters. Remember back in the day when teams, and I'm saying this unironically, by the way, EG had a very large roster. And you could look at even someone like me and be like, you shouldn't have been on there. I served my purpose, but was I a top player? No, I wasn't. But that's the convenience of what the situation was, right? We had such a budget that they could pay someone like me not to be a top player, but to be a leader and organizer and media person. Whereas now in StarCraft, it's bare bones or non-existent, right? The amount of teams just aren't even there because the money got sucked out and went to other places. But the hope is to create an overall economy and ecosystem where a Jin Air Green Wings can exist, a Splice can exist, but so can the other 10 teams, but like more fairly. And then also there's enough money like stable in the scene that it's not so lightning rod-ish, right? Like when Fortnite came out, that was all the talk. That is it. That's all, you know, that's where all the attention went. And then like all these scenes started to lose sponsors and started to move. It's been that way for a while. Dan and I just did this rant where it's like StarCraft Remastered is still huge. It's still awesome. But you could not convince someone to put on an event with any kind of significant amount of money because that's not the game. It's not the one. That was a huge diatribe, but I have this like, it's frustrating because I missed the time where, well, I understand it though. That's the part. Like I of course am biased because I want StarCraft to have more teams and more players, but I get it at the same time too. Like hopefully in the future it equals out and there's less risky investments, and then people can have a team like that because they also have 5 other teams and it's stable. You know what I mean?
What do you think about it, Roddy?
I mean, I agree. Like I already said, I feel like over the last few years in the foreign scene as well, we've had a couple of teams, and you know, not all of them ended exactly very well. You know, players are still owed money by previous teams. Teams show up and disappear. Like I rather see guys just focus, on the branding for themselves and, stream, participate in those WCS events, make a living like that, then join these like half sketchy teams that like first they promise you the world. There is some good news on the horizon as well, though. For instance, like Clash, they seem to be doing things very well. I actually know one of the guys that works with Clash. He's I don't know if there's any poker fans out there, but he used to be on these like very famous poker shows. He was always like playing poker at high stakes, and he actually works very closely with Clash. And I met him at some of those events. That's a team of Elaser and Lambo, so that's really cool to see. They've got a training facility. So there is some good news. There are some new good teams coming in, but yeah, I mean, I'd rather see someone be teamless than join a team who runs away with their prize money, because that's literally the worst thing there is.
Yeah, those things are terrible, and you guys are kind of focusing on the financial thing, but I'm actually interested because, like, I get the financial thing, Jeff, and I definitely agree with your sentiment. But like, just the things practicing together, I think the one thing we can really compare to Jin Air Green Wings would be the Foreigner House out in Korea. Mm-hmm. Have we seen a remarkable increase in these players' skills and results due to the house? The people who've gone to the house, mm-hmm. Especially you, who really follows that European scene so closely. What do you think about that?
It's like yes and no. It's really tricky. It would be very, very bad to Base Trade and Jake. They've ambitions to say no, because some of the players that stay there, they've been really successful. You think of Neep, not just in obviously Casper Cup back then, but also in his WCS performance throughout the last year. And you see, for instance, Utermo right now. I think Utermo is very good. I think he's probably better than he's ever been. At the same time, you have to ask yourself, like, if those guys wouldn't have, gone to Korea, they would have just practiced really hard at home. Would it have made all the difference? Like, I don't know. I think it truly depends how you practice. I believe that practicing on the Korean ladder is obviously going to give you better quality practice, especially when it comes to playing against Terran, because the Korean Terrans are simply way better than most of the Europeans. But I think what Jin Air is probably doing is, like, I feel that that's a real team. Now, I am not part of the Pro Gamer House, but whenever I ask, it's like, yeah, we do help, we talk. But at the same time, there's a chance we play each other in the GSL qualifiers, or we play each other next WCS. So it's not really like an all-out team, right? They don't really share everything with each other. And I think if you truly want the optimal result, that is like where you don't put yourself in the first place, you put your team in the first place. And the main priority is making everyone better on the team, and then everyone gets better eventually. But if it's more like, okay, we are willing to help, but at the end of the day, it's about me, that's very different than I think what's happening in Jin Air. But I've not been there, so I don't know that for sure. But that's kind of what I feel.
I really like what you're saying here with the sharing there, and like because this is actually something that I know is true, is that if you're trying to like hide all of your strats and your thoughts and stuff, you're not actually going to be as good as if you're really kind of sharing it all and having other people share it all. And we actually have proof of concept here in StarCraft 1, because there's no teams anymore, and all the top players are sharing everything in StarCraft 1. They're like sharing their strategies and what they think with each other. There's a more open flow of information instead of having pocketed teams where there's like 1 to 2 geniuses per team talking to each other. Basically, all the geniuses are talking together now, and like we're seeing the metagame shift more quickly. We're seeing the players get a lot better a lot more quickly, and I think that that's something that like could be really taken by the foreigner team house people, or just like people in general. Like in Jeff, in fact, in StarCraft 1, this is something that happened to us. The Americans used to not practice together, and then we all started practicing together, even though we had to play each other in tournaments. And just like putting yourself completely out there, everything you know and think, and having other people do that with you doesn't give them an edge on you. It actually just improves your overall level. And people who aren't doing that are the ones that are going to fall behind, I think.
And at the end of the day, like, pro gamers still have something that, a lot of us have as well. And this doesn't go for every pro people that, this does not apply to. But there are guys out there that simply don't want to play 8, 9, 10 custom games against the best player in the house, because they don't want to have that mindset of like, okay, I got crushed 0-9, I'm fucking trash in this game. They rather play ladder and go 8-2 and feel really good and confident. This is not just, the average player on the ladder. It's people with ladder anxiety. There's pro gamers do have that too, who on purposely will practice slightly easier to feel more confident, rather than, play 10 games against Zero and go 0-10 and be like, all right, WCS is going to be a disaster,
Oh, it's you just touched on an amazingly fun and interesting subject that's always been a part of StarCraft, where like people are attracted to StarCraft as players and competitors because of the sense of competition, the feeling of like self-improvement, beating someone. It's very a lot like wrestling, or a lot like kind of sports, where when you beat someone, you feel like you did that, you feel like you accomplished. But at the same time, and it's such a funny struggle, it's always been rampant among StarCraft competitors, and this is something I really struggled with. There's also like a boogeyman in a closet almost, of like, if you lose, if you get dominated, it goes deeper than just the result of the loss. And that was something that at EG we had a severe issue with, where like, is it better to just play games on the ladder to improve? No, it is not. Is it better to find your opponent, grind out 10 games against someone who's a top-notch player playing a matchup that you want to practice for? Absolutely it is. Why did that not always happen? Is it because of their work ethic? No, it's because at the end of the day, one of those two guys is exhausted mentally and emotionally, but also feels like they lost, like something bad happened to them. And it's not even just that they then are like, oh no, I'm mentally unprepared for WCS or the equivalent back then. It was also just like a human thing. You would sleep into a depression. You'd start to feel inadequate. You'd start to feel like you'd question what you're doing. It became way bigger than that. And that's why StarCraft 2 had this huge problem. And I'll talk about Brood War in a second, but like in StarCraft 2, you would go to the ladder because you would generally be winning games, and even if you lost, it was just a ladder game, or that guy fucking cheesed me, or he's a hacker, or he's stream cheating. There was always a way to kind of throw it out, but when you tap the Muslim on the shoulder and say, I need to play a couple of 10 games with you or whatever, and he wipes the floor with you, he doesn't have to say anything mean or whatever, and sometimes the nicer they are, the worse it is, actually. I once yelled at Bryce. I'll tell that story in a second, but no, it's actually a sad story. I don't want to, but it's really important to the subject. I'll even just jump into it right now. So Bryce and I played at a lot of, this is Machine, by the way, people in the chat. We used to hit each other at MLGs and WCGs all the time. We'd hit each other. I historically beat him, and I won more tournaments and stuff like that. I'm not bragging, just this is the way it was. Bryce was always one of the absolute best practice partners, though, because you could play 1,000 games with him, and he's a top-notch player, and he was great about it. But one MLG, I was very sure I was going to win. He fucking beats me. It was like 2-1 or something like that, or even worse. It was like later in the MLG tournament. And he was uncomfortable as all get out, because I'm over there just like fuming, like, oh my God. And then he eventually made his way over to me and said, hey, good game, man. And I'm not proud to admit this, and maybe someone's going to hate me for some, but in the moment, I said, when you beat me, you got to come over and shake my hand, otherwise I look like a jackass. And he felt terrible. Because of course he didn't come over to shake my hand because he was worried that I already felt like a jackass or something like that. But the point is, it was some weird, bigger emotional thing that happened for me to lose in that moment, especially on a bigger stage. And that's why StarCraft is equal parts the beautiful game, but also like the bear on your back clawing at your spine. It's a very tough balance. But in Brood War, in Korea, sorry, I'm super long-winded. In Korea, the Korean houses, part of the reason they worked is because they didn't have a fucking choice. If you had the honor of going into that Korean house, it wasn't, hey, do you mind practicing with me? It was, drone bitch, sit in that corner. We're playing 100 games, and you're going to do this one build because I need to wrap my head around it. But because it got broken down into like, it wasn't necessarily a spiritual thing that's happening. It was more of like a mechanical, I need you to play faster, you need to do this build, we're on this map, and it was just like that kind of way. I think it helped those guys improve eons beyond everyone else who was kind of more tied up and being emotional about it.
Yeah, I think it's really funny if you share this, because like I think a lot of people, that's just them, or it's just like the average ladder experience. But I remember it from my Warcraft 3 days, which of course in the end of the day is not too different from StarCraft 2, where I would literally, like as soon as I came out of school, I would sit down and I would hit up my 3 favorite orgs in Europe, and I'd be like, all right, we're going to play like 20, 25 games of Orc vs. Orc in a row. That was absolutely the last thing I needed, because that was literally the one matchup where I would absolutely consider myself on my best days like top 5 in the world in that matchup. What I should have done is just practice Orc Night Elf, Would I do that? No. Did I know I was bad in it? Absolutely. Orc versus human, no, too scary. I had like a vague idea in my mind, and I was like, if we go to a tournament, I'll do that. Let's just grind orc versus orc, because I loved it. I thrived on it, and I wanted to only get better and better at what I was already good at. And I didn't want to face my demons. I didn't want to go 0-6 against a guy that's like top 20 in Europe. Like, fuck that, no way.
I think my weakness in that severely held me back in StarCraft 2 in particular. And there's so much psychology in all this, but like in StarCraft 2, I was putting in 10-hour days, but 9.5 of that was on the ladder or something like that. And can you improve? Absolutely. I'm not saying you can't, but it doesn't work for everybody, and it didn't work for me. It was an escape. It was like it allowed me to go to sleep at night knowing I wasn't the best, but I was trying. I was putting in the time, you know? But like what I should have done is lined up Stefano, lined up the Muslim, lined up Idra and said, fucking destroy me every day. And hopefully in a month, I'll come out of it a much better player. It's hard.
That's so tough. Even if it's your job, like it will sound stupid. Pro gamer, just do it. Like this is literally, but it's like you said, it goes so much deeper than just playing some games and being able to take a loss. It affects you in so many ways.
Well, this is it's like one of the big things that the first thing that's touted is like you have to practice, play a lot of games. And yes, that's definitely true. You have to play a lot of games. And the thing is, you can't just sacrifice time and pay time to be good at StarCraft. Or really probably anything worthwhile, right? Like, you can play for 10 hours, but it's not just about playing for 10 hours. It's about putting yourself into situations in which you're uncomfortable, where your ego is going to be challenged, and holding that aside. It's if you're having just consistent fun in your practice, you're actually either doing it so right because you've got yourself in a mindset where all you care about is like improving yourself, and it's not ego-based, or you're doing it so wrong because you're just playing what you find fun, right? And what you need to do is make yourself uncomfortable. You should be struggling and trying to hold back your ego and your self-judgments and stuff while you're practicing, because you're giving yourself all those really difficult times.
And the StarCraft shill in me, by the way, is reminding everyone, we're talking about professional StarCraft play. Like, if you're like, I want to try out StarCraft, and they hear us go like, it's a soul grind of death. We're like, no, it can be fun. No. There's fun ways to do it, and you can do it casually.
We're talking casually too.
Yeah, we're talking.
If you want to get really good, and you want to, and the thing is, even if you're not good and you want to get better, a lot of the quickest ways to get better are not the most fun ways.
I actually think the lower you start. Yeah, the lower you start, the more fun the climb is, right? It's just that, where in the beginning you can climb really fast, and the closer you get towards, like the ceiling, if there is even a ceiling in StarCraft, maybe there isn't, but the closer you feel like, then it comes down, like where it goes first, you can easily improve like 20 seconds. It only goes to like 10 seconds. And at one point, you're working with just a few seconds, and it's so hard to outmaneuver your opponents. And that's where I think it becomes really tough. But before that, I think it's actually a lot of fun to, work your way up and play games and learn from your mistakes and face your demons in that way.
Well, the eureka moments like you're describing, or the bigger improvement spikes all happen there. And that is so fun and rewarding. It's very akin to, it happened a couple years ago when all the StarCraft nerds started to go to the gym. And it was like they had these like flaccid, pale bodies for like 19 or 20 years, but then they started going to the gym and they were like, holy shit. They were like, whoa, this is fucking amazing. But then they, after like a year, you don't hear about it as much because it got hard to get those results. No pun intended. So that was a good conversation, guys. So let's move into the final segment here, and that is the Q&A section, which we have now, in just our third episode of the Pylon, boiled down into a science. It is a science. You just join our Discord, where there's great people that like StarCraft and want to talk about it. You go into the questions part of the Discord, and you ask a question, and Cobra, descending on a unicorn from the heavens, will reach down a golden gauntleted hand and look for these questions, and he'll select a few of them, and then he'll bring them over to the trough that Artosis and I feed off of, and we will answer these questions.
Jeff, there you are.
It got robot-y?
It did, but that's okay.
I gave away the secret StarCraft again.
Something. Here we are. And here are the questions.
Can you guys still see me? Because I pressed the button. Okay, cool. I can't see myself anymore.
Don't take your clothes off. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay.
I know you love that meme, don't you?
From yeah, it's more than a meme, Roddy. It's a promise. Question number 1 from Blinker. How do you stay up to date on how every pro is playing all over the world when going to WCS events or IEMs? Are you looking at results only, or do you watch VODs? Follow-up. What are you looking for when you watch a replay as compared to a regular viewer? So how do you guys keep up with players when you're going around casting and stuff like that? Or you watching VODs?
Can I answer on behalf of Apollo, a former caster?
22?
Yeah. Apollo would have a stack, maybe 19 inches deep, of all the stats, everything of these players. And he was just so studious. In fact, he would sometimes skip dinner, especially if there was Blizzard employees there, to study at the dinner table to show just how studious he was of the players.
Yeah.
And now he's got a very solid job. So.
Yeah.
What do we learn, Jeff? More notes? All right, so I can give my answer real quick.
Yeah.
It's, of course, impossible to follow every pro and know exactly what every pro is doing, because, first of all, not every pro plays like public games in the lead up to events. And it would be simply, ridiculous to think that I could have the information on every single pro. Now, obviously, you do your homework when it comes to, you look at the lineup, you'll be like, all right, these are the 8 favorites. So you obviously want to be up to date what the 8 favorites have been doing recently. Take a look, see if you missed anything. Take a look at a couple of the games to make sure that it's not something happened that you really should know. And then there's always a couple guys you feel like, I've seen this guy playing this in this tournament. I think he has a good run. So then you focus on him. But, at the WCS Valencia, I am not going to prepare for like 56 players and watch all their games, because that would be ridiculous and very pointless, because half of those guys, I wouldn't cast a single game off.
And Kevin also undersells himself, by the way. He's one of the most... You have one of the best memories for results from StarCraft players. I think I'll just say you have the best memory for StarCraft player results of anyone on those tables at any time, and it's amazing. I'm going to give a very real answer before we go to Dan, who's going to give a better answer. But my very real answer, and when I say very real, I mean this is what I do, and I don't think this is the best, but this is, and give me a second to justify myself. I don't study players. I don't go to their Wikipedia. I don't interview them. Like Todd in the chat's very good about at events. He'll go and ask the players their thoughts. I think it brings a lot to the commentary. It's amazing. There are studious people. I'm not just joking. Like I made fun of Apollo, but he actually was a very studious guy, and he did do a good job of like being up to date on stats. And some of these guys do that. I personally rely on. I play the game still. I actively play it quite a bit to stay sharp that way. I watch all the events, and then a lot of my friends are StarCraft people. So I talk to Roddy, I talk to Dan. I am friends with some of these players. So I'm like generally around the game that I feel like that arms me with relevant meta, relevant happenings and goings and that kind of stuff. But I say that, and this is like the full Jeff being real thing. Would my broadcast be better if I did study the players? Would it be better if I did go down and ask them their opinions? Yes, I think it would. But I personally try to strike a balance between I want to be a really good commentator, and I also want to really enjoy what I do and be very happy. And also, I do other things for a living, not just commentating. So whether or not that sits well with you or you agree with that, that's for you to decide. For me personally, it's this happy balance of when I go to WCS, it's a job, but it's a fucking job that and don't tell all of Blizzard that's listening, I would do it for free because I really have a good time and I love it. So I'm trying to strike this balance in my life of I enjoy everything I do and I want to do it really well. So that's my answer.
And I think it's important to realize that every commentator is going to a different answer. Everyone has slightly different jobs. Like, for instance, I am 100% full-time commentary. So that's different. Like Jeff and Roddy both have some percentage of your income. I technically, I'm doing it for fun. The money isn't, I mean, if you watch my stream, you can instantly tell the money isn't why I do it. Because it's not, I don't do a very good job. But yeah, so for me personally, the way I've been doing it for the last few years, last 3-4 years, I guess. I use the program Evernote, and
cool.
I take notes on all Korean games because I am the caster in Korea, basically. So I make sure I'm like a super expert on Korean players. So, and I've organized it differently over the years. Currently, I organize it by matchup and player. So every player I can go into any matchup, be like, okay, PVZ, click on it, and then I click on Zest, and I have all of his PVZs that he did this year, right? And I have previous years put away, but I try not to look too far back because I don't want to pigeonhole people in their old styles or their old plays. But yeah, so I have notes on all the games, just kind of like a brief rundown. Before an event, sometimes I'll sit down and make myself like write a paragraph about a player, so I have like an idea of the storylines that I'm interested in with the player. That type of thing is how I generally do it. I don't. Occasionally, I'll just to make sure I didn't miss something. I'll look at like a Ligulac, something like that, just to make sure. Or if I have I have like a lot of half memories where it's like I'm like, didn't this guy do this? Right? And I'm like, is it this guy? And like I'll look it up on Wikipedia and figure it out then.
Then your co-commentator is Nick, and he knows the other half too. You guys finish each other's sandwiches all the time. That was a great question, Blinker, though, and we got Maynard in chat as well. Zombie Grub was there, and I do like I think it was Kevin or Dan. It just wasn't me, I guess. That said every commentator has a different answer, which I really like actually. And I think, by the way, StarCraft is chock full of good commentators. It's pretty cool.
We're very.
And I'm proud of the fact that a lot of them
actually
have gone on to do other things as well. I think it's really cool. So next question from Doc Hall. What?
Kidding. I know you get upset. I said traders, but I was kidding.
Oh, no, you're just trying to rile up the crowd. Next question is from Doc Holiday TV, who's also in the chat. What's up, man? He asks, "What do you guys think is a community? What do you guys think as a community the SCR fans should focus on to help revive the scene?" I think we'll go with Dan to start, as opposed to Kevin.
Yeah. I think first off, the foreign Brood War Discord that is there. I think stuff like that's really helpful just to get the players into the same place. I think that we need to get some channels going on actual BattleNet that everyone's going to. This was a big part of foreign Brood War back in the day, but Discord's a great start. And then people need to be playing games together. Like you can hit the ladder Q button, but this is not actually how you form a community. I don't know about you guys. I've never felt like I'm any part of any online community for StarCraft 2 because I just hit the find ladder button.
Dan, that's all good and fine, but
channels,
Root Cat says Husky. What do you think about that?
Husky?
Just bring Husky back, man. Husky StarCraft.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's how we're.
You didn't even get the Husky reference, man. You're dead to me.
What? Husky was in Brood War. That's where he started.
Yeah, I know. Okay, this guy. My answer is we gotta wait for a big Brood War event, in my personal opinion. I think if the community like rallies around it and gets excited and talks about it and watches it, and the players get risen up and people are like, oh my god, I've been following him for a couple years. This is Eon Zerg's chance, and Jae-yoon goes to my school, and I once pulled a piece of his hair out, and I've been sniffing ever since. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we need. And then from there, if that momentum, in my opinion, can get channels and Discord channels and communities and groups, and you can build around that, then that's great. But I have to admit, StarCraft in particular, building a community around a game that doesn't have like top-notch competition, that's all about competition for the most part, is very hard to do.
It's hard.
It's impossible, I think.
Yeah.
You take the WCS out of StarCraft 2, and I think a lot of the communities you feel like exist are not there. You need competition in StarCraft. Third question from Snuzzy. Best advice you can give someone who's been a viewer of StarCraft for 4 years without ever touching the game and looking to start getting into 1v1 ladder in Remastered, he says. But Kevin, what would you give advice to someone trying to get into StarCraft 2?
StarCraft 2, I mean, you just play. If you've been watching for 4 years, I think it is very, very important to at least make like a friend or two so you can share your own replay, because at the end of the day, you can have 1,000 replays that you can download and you can upload, and you can go to Reddit. But I think it's a lot cooler if you have like a personal contact with one or two guys, so you can actually like talk in a one-on-one way about one of your experiences, because no experience is fun if you can't really share it with anyone. So if you're just sitting there playing some games by yourself, I don't think that's that fun. I think it's always important to be able to share your experience with someone. In Remastered though, that's tough, man. Like I was there, I watched Dan cast a couple times, I picked up the game, but I don't think like you guys, because obviously you guys are so freaking diehard Brood War, and you guys like have an insane amount of memories already with that game, and you have muscle memory with it. But even someone like me who has played RTS since 2000, well, maybe even like in the 90s with Red Alert and Command & Conquer, that game is so incredibly hard to get into, especially because it feels like we got spurred over the years. You know, the controls got better and better, everything is smoother, everything is easier. To then go back to something that you've never done before, but it's also like so much clunkier and, sorry, don't hate me, but worse than what I'm used to. That's almost like impossible. Like it's really, really, really almost like undoable, I think, unless you have played that game before. But that's my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's hard. But
go ahead, Dan.
You start playing. Yeah, I don't know. There's no substitute when you.
Yeah, I agree. You just gotta start playing. It's a mental thing. It's like ladder anxiety. I think that exists for a lot of people in StarCraft in general. So a couple more questions.
Just because you lose at a video game doesn't make you. It's fine.
Does it though? So, couple more questions. Trevik asks, thoughts on the current state of Ravens? This has actually been asked a lot, by the way. People were very disappointed that we didn't talk about this for 2 episodes. I'm glad that Kevin's here to finally
give
let
us a final
know
word on the Ravens.
So, Kevin, Ravens seem to be a huge issue for people. What are your thoughts on them and the anti-armor missile?
I don't have much to say. Like, I think the one thing that I could say is that it feels like it's very hard to micro against, because it feels like if the Terrans want to cast it, they will cast it. So maybe there needs to be a small change in how fast it shoots or how fast it fires off. But I'm a little tired about this freaking Raven discussion and the Raven getting 3 new spells every month and a half. Like, let's just like, I think it's actually a pretty cool unit right now. I like the ability, even though the other turret feels underused at this point because they hate it. Like, I understood why they changed it, but now you rarely see it. Like, it's still used as a bait sometimes, but I don't know. I think I think the anti-armor missile is kind of cool. You can maybe nerf it, maybe not, but I would rather see the other races have a better micro against it. You know what we should do? Do you guys play Smash Brothers? Every player and every unit should have the deflector shield or Fox. So when they send an anti-armor missile, we should be able to deflect it and send it right back into the... Yes, that's what we should do.
Yeah, I kind of, unless Dan's going to blow my mind, that's part of the reason why every time someone asks us, like, just generally speaking, by the way, most of the commentators that like populate your WCS events and stuff like that, we don't really have extreme opinions on any one unit. I've not really found that to be the case. Like, if a Raven seems really strong right now, and you're like fucking Rotterdam, what do you think about this? The moment where Kevin's like, it's fucking stupid. I can't. That day, if it happens, I'll lose my mind because I would never see that coming. But you're gonna generally get an answer of like, yeah, it's strong, and they should look at it, or they shouldn't.
Roddy was talking earlier about how suddenly Terrans are starting to win against Protoss some. You'd think that with time, people find ways
to make Protoss win again.
There's definitely some things that I would like to do. Like, I think TVP is not impossible, but I do think that like in the mid game, like Terran has like this pressure almost immediately to do a reasonable amount of work and damage. And if they do that, it's cool. But it's weird if Terran is like pushed in this position where they have to proxy a starport, otherwise their aggression arrives too late or whatever. Like, I definitely think that like you could work on TVP, but it's funny because if you give both like races 5 bases and the dream army, then I actually prefer Terran over Protoss. The funny thing is, it's very, very, very tough for Terran to even get there, you know, without being in a position where they have 1-1 upgrades, and Protoss has 3-3 with a Guardian Shield, and Marines. Like,
I've been enjoying TVT lately because it has this really funny, like, They change their compositions a little bit more often in TVT right now, but my favorite is when it's Marine Tank for a while. Then a couple of starports go down there like, I need Vikings. I need some fucking Vikings, okay? For the medevacs. And then a couple of cheeky tech labs get added on, and both the players are scanning each other, and they're like, you fucking scan. They're like, don't you do it. And he's like, I'm fucking. The 2 Ravens come out, and the other guys are like, well, I'm going Ravens. And then the Ravens just all start flocking around. And then the Terran players, like, if you get the post-game interview, I hope you guys have been eating this up like I have. It's been so delicious. Every game afterwards, they're like, oh, so your opponent, they had like 25 Ravens, are pretty good. He's like, no, it's stupid. I can't do anything. I can have 45 Ravens. It doesn't fucking matter because Raven versus Raven, and both Terran players just start yelling at each other. But it's my favorite like build up in the game because you can see it where they're like really trying to kill each other with everything but Ravens. And then when they do it, they're just like, God damn! And then the Ravens start coming out. It's fun. Enjoy it.
Sounds like you think it's fun.
I have such a good time in StarCraft, man. One or two more questions. We got Haven SC. This is an interesting one as well. He says, do you listen to music when you play StarCraft 2, and do you feel that certain types of music can cause you to play differently? If so, which genre will make you perform the best? You can kind of ignore the last part of that because it got weird, but I know that at different stages of your guys' life, you've been competitors, Kevin. I didn't know, in Warcraft 3, did you ever listen to music or anything like that, or...?
Yeah, Winamp. I think back then had a little Winamp.
Winamp.
Absolutely. Me too.
But I think for the big games, I turned it off. I think I brought events. Like I would listen to music before the games, I think, to get in the spirit, in the zone. But during like big competitive games, I would never play with music. I would only listen to the game sounds.
Yeah, me as well on that. But yeah, I practice music, fast-paced generally. Just really fast paced.
I was more about Alicia Keys and Yo-Yo, Lil Bow Wow.
Keys.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's the name of the other one? Damn it. The 1,000 Miles girl, Vanessa Carlton or something. I think that's her name.
Oh yeah, Vanessa Carlton.
Those were my songs.
Yeah. She had a song actually that I listened to. White House. That's my StarCraft song right
White
there.
House?
White House for StarCraft.
I like Joanne of Arc as well. What if God was... That was my Warcraft song.
I listened to Tool back in the day, and it wasn't good, obviously, to listen to music over the game sounds, because StarCraft has a lot of important game sounds you want to hear. But one of my favorite moments, I think I told the story in the show, but I was listening to Tool, and this is way back when we had Discmans. So for some of you, you're going to have to Google that. And my album fucking stopped in a 45-minute game against LZ Gamer. He was playing PvZ at the time, and the two guys behind me at that moment go, wow, he's super dead, talking about me. And I was like, oh my God. And then I came back to win, because that's why it's a good story.
I bet I was one of those people behind you.
You were not. You were behind me in spirit. It was two randos. Last question, then we'll wrap this up. It's been a long show. Thank you, by the way, Kevin, for staying. This is like 5 a.m.
I know.
or something.
Damn.
I'm gonna ask a good one here.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a good one. What if WCS was run like the NFL? Break it. I'm just gonna read it as he wrote it. Break it, the players up into divisions, with a season comprising of mostly divisional games and some non-divisional games, and playoffs being the WCS events themselves.
Alright, so if I can go first, it's actually funny to read this question because casting WESG, which is supposed to be like this Olympic event where everyone has national qualifiers and all the games are top tier competition. I really forgot who I had these conversations with, but I was kind of thinking that even within the top tournaments, I feel like we should have tiers. So we should have divisions, but not divisions as in the NFL where obviously not one division is supposed to be a higher level than the other because it's all the NFL. But I actually believe in StarCraft, this goes back to what I said earlier in the show, that the skill difference became so big between, the guys that are top 3 in Europe, the guys that are top 30 and below that like, I think this is like randomly speaking, right? But like Serral versus Showtime is always freaking amazing. And this is absolutely no disrespect. I love him. But Serral versus Bly, is a lot less interesting to watch in general. No, that was just one of the games.
No,
that
I know what you're
casted
saying, but the funny thing is about Bly is that Bly would be in that top bracket because that's how he fucking rolls.
Yeah, no, of course he would, because he's like a top 25 easily, you know, some top 16, top 8 on his good days. So yet, but like Bly against Soul is always going to be very fun again, you know, in Bly Mana and stuff like that. So like, I would like to see some sort of divisional tier play. I have no idea how to implement it or in what tournament, so that you have like your top 8 is your top 8. Let's say like top 8 in the foreign scene, right? You have a division of Serral, Showtime, Neep, Scarlet, Utermo, maybe like a DNS, and I'm sure like Raynor, perhaps even like Elaser. Like that would be so sick. Seeing all those 8 play against each other would be sick. But like if you go down a little bit to like the tier 3 Europeans, those games are a lot less interesting. So I would like divisions, but then I would like use tier divisions. Otherwise, the whole NFL system doesn't make any sense to implement it in StarCraft, of course, because for the NFL it does work, but that's different.
It's interesting to think about. I think the problem is always, and I have a tough time getting past this with a lot of things in StarCraft, and it makes me sound like I'm hating on StarCraft, but I'm not. But like if you have a lower division, it's just a lot less likely that people are going to watch that or get excited about it. And right now, StarCraft is like kind of all about how do we maximize hype, how do we maximize excitement to get what we can, right?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think like 6 StarCraft is 6 in general. Like games are absolutely amazing, even if they are not the best players in the world. And I think people can absolutely get behind that. It's just the one-sided, like, you know, the sweeps that are not that fun to watch.
Kevin, who won the last Ladder Heroes Fear Dragons tournament he's been putting on?
The last Ladder Heroes, Nurture probably did, didn't he?
Probably, but you don't know because you didn't watch because it's shitty StarCraft. So
I did. It was ZVZ final.
No, I mean, I didn't mean
Well,
to
of
call it
course it was
StarCraft.
a ZVZ final. Right? Zergus is strongest, easiest right.
Kevin's Wikipedia right now. Anyways, I'm just making a jokey point that's terrible that people are gonna hate me for, but it's fine. We're gonna call it a show. It's been a long show. It's been arduous.
It's actually been
Showtime won, damn it.
It's been good. Yeah, and it wasn't a Z. It was Nurture.
Showtime beat Nurture. Damn it. Lambo and Amateur in the top 4.
Thank you, chat, for showing up. Really appreciate that. Just as always, I'm going to say we know about the audio issues. We'll do what we can to work on it. Some of it is that we literally, on this screen, have a guy in Europe, America, and Korea at the same time. Some of it's we're using Discord. We'll figure it out. We'll try to improve, but at the same time, we're ambitious. So ambitious, in fact, that if you're enjoying it, make sure and subscribe, donate, cheer, follow, all that kind of good stuff. And do the same for these guys over here. First and foremost, Mr. Rotterdam, thank you so much for tuning in. Well, being on, not tuning in. Kevin, if you didn't know, very recently played 24 hours of 1 versus 1 StarCraft. Now listen, I've done a 24-hour stream. Let's say like 4 of that or 5 of that was StarCraft, because that's fucking bonkers. Kevin did 24 hours and played like 109 games or whatever it was.
Don't know how you do it.
I watched 7 hours of it probably, and the whole time I was like, I'll never do this. Because Kevin made it look painful. Not that that's a bad thing about you, Kevin. It's just it looked painful as shit.
The ending was good though. The final game.
Yeah, you beat TLO again.
Didn't you beat TLO?
Yeah.
23 hours and 45 minutes. Oh, poor Dario. Like I actually feel it.
You're in a tough spot, Kevin, because when you say poor Dario, it sounds way worse. You're like, oh, I'm so sorry I beat you when I was exhausted.
We played 2 more times when I was fresh as a butterfly, and he, just to
beat you.
Well, you weren't warmed up for those games. You
no, exactly. I need some time.
Kevin, tell them where they can follow you and check it out, and what you got coming up and that kind of stuff, please.
Well, I'm actually just kind of streaming quite a bit now. First 4 months, Twitch.tv. It's the same everywhere else, but
your mic cut out. Everyone in the chat knows where you stream, but it is Rotterdam08.
Yeah. That's about it. You'll see me. I'll be streaming a lot in the upcoming month. I don't really have any big plans for the month of May other than recover a little bit, relax, and enjoy myself with StarCraft and streaming.
Yeah, because Kevin, I haven't seen you commentate since, I guess it was Nation Wars, but that was like, feels like forever ago. So like, are you still commentating, or what's the next event you're doing?
I had that question twice today. People wonder if I quit. I just don't know what to say. It makes me sad. I'm like, I have been home like for 12 days and we're 5 months into the year. Like, I don't know what else I can do, you know? It's like,
Kevin,
a little sad.
Kevin is my number one cathartic friend every event, because I would say of all of it, well, yeah. So of the StarCraft guys, we're the two probably longest. I don't know what to say. We stream a lot. So we get a lot of the same kind of. In Kevin's audience is very European, I would say. So there's even how would I describe the European audience? There's a few different ways, but I would say they're a little bit more curious. I think the questions they ask are so innocent and so adorable, but also at times very lazy. They'll just be like, Kevin. No, this is my favorite. Let me tell the story. They'll be like, Kevin, when's your next casting event and where are you? And Kevin, on hour 7 of his stream, will be like, mate, it's in the stream title and it's literally at the top of the fucking stream that I'm in LA right now. Can you please look at that? And they'll be like, sorry, Kevin. I'm on my phone right now. I can't see anything. He's like, mate, it's on the fucking stream. You're looking at it. And then they just don't say anything. But it happens. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I apologize. There's like 5 people laughing right now. Because, anyways. Dan, what's coming up for you? I haven't seen you cast since, I guess it was Friday. So when are you coming out of retirement?
Last night.
Well, okay.
Yeah, it was like less than 12 hours ago. I was still casting.
Yeah, but 12 hours is a long time.
Actually, it was 13 hours ago. Now that I look at it, we've been on the show a long time. No, I mean, I ordered my new microphone, so my sound will be a lot better. I also got a new PC, and I'll have that set up for next week as well. Yeah, I'll have GSL and ASL just going forward, getting through the rest of these tournaments. And right now, I'm just very excited about the Pylon Show. And thanks for coming on, Roddy. And we're going to continue working to make this better and better. I know that there was a few audio issues and stuff, but we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I'm sorry that I couldn't. Well, I think I was actually kind of laughing. I think my name is Matt already. Yeah,
you're fine.
But if people wonder why was he so dead, I have to think about my surroundings.
Just to close out, guys, like Dan said, we'll work on the stuff. So don't feel the need to tell me a whole bunch, but we'll work on it. We are also working on a Patreon. We think that's probably the best way to go about making sure that this is something that we can keep doing. More on that soon. We will have an episode next week, which does mean it's episode 4. So if you guys could please put your hands together, this is new territory for Artosis. He hasn't done 4 episodes of anything, I think, ever.
I hate you so much.
It's a big moment in time. I'm really excited. Well, you know what? Not to counter chickens before we get there, because it is still a week away, so a lot of things can happen. But this will be up on Artosis TV on YouTube or behind my paid wall, because I am a tyrant on my VOD. We'll see you guys soon. Make sure to post in the threads. Let us know what you thought. Give us your questions, all that stuff. Thank you to Cobra for producing. He does an amazing job. We'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.